there's a little on-air button and it just says,
oh, we're live. We're live.
We're live. This is.
I got live on my side.
Oh my goodness. This is. Well, it says there are 5 people waiting, so.
Hello, 5 people.
Welcome. Oh my goodness. Oh, I need to turn off the volume. Do I?
Yes.
It says there are 5 people waiting, so. No,
yes.
dang it.
5 people. All right. So I'm muted. Are you muted?
I have my little. I don't know. Do I have an echo?
No, you don't. You did originally, but now you don't.
I was trying to figure out where that came from. I was like, wait a second. Before I get a thumbs down, before anything even happened, I'm like, let me do this.
We have a troll in the dungeon.
That is going to be my new go-to. For every time the thumbs down and be like, there's a troll in the dungeon. That's just how it is.
I love this live stream thingy. Oh, thank you, Lady Gizmo. You're so sweet. Lady Gizmo says we look nice.
Aw, thank you. I kind of lost it for a second. I had to press pause. I don't know where that came from, but kind of lost the live stream. So I think my delay is extra right now.
Oh, no. Are you getting the comments all good, though?
It says, I love this live stream thingy. So I just got that. I am going to hit the refresher on YouTube because I do think I lost my little feed for a second. So.
Okay.
Hello to the 3 people. We lost 2. What? Oh boy. And the dog is here.
Yes.
Max is in the hallway.
Oh, yeah. It happened.
Say hello to everybody as well.
Hi, Max.
And I'm sure your little fur babies will say hello at some point as well.
I've locked the door.
So she's my fault.
I haven't locked it. I shut it.
Well, I mean, it's not really like they're going to pick the lock, so I think you're good.
I think we're good.
They can just close the door. So I am so excited for this.
I'm so excited too.
Hi, Jenna. Welcome to the live stream. This is so exciting. Welcome.
I'm so excited. All right. Well, my name is Nicole.
I was going to say, you want to tell them about your channel? I mean, she's Who Picked This Book.
Yes, my name is Nicole from Who Picked This Book, and I love romance. And the beautiful Angela approached me to create this wonderful book club, and I was so excited and shocked, and I'm blushing just thinking about it.
Of course I asked you. She is my booktube best friend. I mean, the power of social media, people. Like, you can meet someone who's completely amazing, who reads the books you read, and you're like, I love you. She watches Buffy the Vampire Slayer like I do. We talk about romance novels. Just so happy I met you.
Now I'm really blushing. Oh my goodness. I know, it's just so funny. I feel like I know you so well, even though I haven't technically met you like in person. Like, we've talked loads of times, and I feel like just we're right here. You and me, we have the same brain.
I mean, the other day, I know you gave the second book 2 out of 5 stars. She was reading a series. I'm like, oh, I just read that exact same series. It was on my list. Oh, this is what happens. You'll be reading romance and I'll be reading one from the same author. It just kind of works out.
So did you read all 3?
I did. I forget the name of the series off the top of my head, people. I wish I could tell you. What was it?
It's called Disciples. At least that's what Goodreads calls it.
Yeah, so this is a dark romance. I need to introduce myself as well. I'm Angela. This is my channel, Books in My Heart. I love romances. I'm studying for my PhD. This is going to be my dissertation topic. There was a dark romance series that was on my list I have all the breakdowns for the subgenres and then certain themes. I have all sorts of themes I'm trying to read up on, and that one had to do with the dubious consent. So I have that on my list, and again, because she's read it, she gets that reference. So I was reading it because it was on the Goodreads list of books that had issues that readers were trying to address and talk about. And so since I'm trying to study the stigma of the genre, and this is part of the stigma, I wanted to know, okay, what happened? What's going on? And when you gave it 2 out of 5 stars, I'm like, yeah, I can see why you might do that. It is dark. Yeah.
I think I rated the first one a little bit higher. I ended up giving it 3 stars on Goodreads, but more leaning towards like maybe 2.5. just because it was, for me, I don't know if you read my Goodreads review on that first one, but I was like,
I saw the tweet of like, I finished this book. I didn't read your review of it yet.
My Goodreads review basically says like the main, well, quote unquote protagonist, his name is Lucifer or Matthew. I said he doesn't so much as flirt with the line between consent and force rather than kick it down like the Kool-Aid man.
Well, this is what we're talking about, people. We're going to be talking about romance books from all different genres, all different subgenres. Oh, yeah. So
yeah, no genre is safe. Yeah, in the second book, I gave it more like towards, you know, the 2.52 stars. And I'm actually starting to read the third one. And I'm liking this one a lot more. I haven't got really into the nitty gritty, like their relationship yet. So I don't know how he's going to react to her. So as of right now, I'm really enjoying it more. And I really want Simon the Spider to get his own book because I need to know about him.
I love, I mean, maybe not necessarily this series, but I love characters that reappear and you kind of get to know them over the course of several stories when they're secondary and then the main. But we did want to ask everybody, I mean, I know we're still just kicking this off, so hello to our 5 viewers. We did want to ask what books got you into reading romances? What books, you know, what got you started? Why are you a romance reader? How did you end up here? We want to know these things. I was like, we have another visitor.
Yes.
Like I can't.
Christian. I've been talking with him on Twitter today. He just asked for some recommendations, and I gave him even romance recommendations, and I kind of gave him a couple of those. Hello, Christian.
Hi, Christian. I was trying to. So I wear progressives, and so from a distance, it's harder for me to read things. So I need to really get up close and personal with my laptop right now. So I was like, I see someone else popped up on the feed. I don't know what they said. Hello, welcome. I think you asked me as well about clean romance reads. And this was something I think the documentary Love Between the Covers, like jumping right in, they talked about all the different subgenres. So I think this is something we can talk about as well. I mean, there's clean romances, there's paranormal clean romances, then there's paranormal in general.
Absolutely. There is one, I know we're kind of digging right in here, but there's one quote, and I forget who says it, but that I want to talk about. It was the fact that there are so many subgenres in regards to romance, and how the person said, if you have a cup of tea, someone's pouring it, you know? So like, if you want, you know, those, you know, the romance that are more drawn to maybe the relationship or character development and not necessarily sex, like sex scenes, clean romance, like you said, quote unquote, there's a book for you. If Amish romance, for example, there are so many Christian women that read Amish, quote unquote, clean romances, and it's more driven towards relationship building rather than the intimacy and the physical connection. So I just really loved that. It was just, if you have a cup of tea, someone's pouring it for you. That's just so great to me.
And welcome to I love this channel name, by the way. So I think I've been following Romance Queen of BookTube for a little while now. And so this is the book club for you, obviously. Welcome.
Yes, that is fantastic. I saw her pop up and I'm like, yes, the queen has arrived.
I know. Has anyone in the comment section seen the documentary Love Between the Covers? Because I mean, we're kind of letting this be a little bit more free-flowing. The whole purpose of tonight is to talk about why we love romances, you know, if there's a stigma, you know, what's going on with that. So basically, this is going to be just an informal conversation, just talking about the genre. And so we were going to use Love Between the Covers as a way to kind of ground the conversation just a little bit. So by show of hands in the comment section, if you've seen this documentary, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this was just a great kickoff for this book club, just discussing why we love the genre. And also the documentary gives us such great talking points to discuss. It's wonderful.
Jenna, you watched it. I'm so happy. See, I've watched this documentary, I think 6 or 7 times now. I really, really like it. When I recommended it to Nicole, I was telling her right before we went live, I wanted her to love it in the worst way, but I didn't want to put any pressure on her. And then when she said she loved it, I thought, oh, thank goodness. I gave her a good recommendation because it talks about the genre, and I'm so pleased with how they address it because they place such a positive spin on it, and they do address some of the issues surrounding the genre, such as the stigma, such as how people perceive it, and they kind of bash it to a certain degree. So I really like this documentary. I want to know what you thought about it, so please comment away.
Yes, yes, I loved it. I immediately, like after I finished it, I immediately wanted to watch it again. And I would have watched it today again if I didn't have to work. Dang, you know, responsibilities. But Romance Queen of BookTube just said she added it to her buy list for Amazon. That's really cool. If you don't want to wait for it, I mean, if you have Netflix, you could totally do it that way, which I'm so happy that it's back on Netflix.
I don't know what happened. They lost it for probably a week, and I typed it into the search bar and they said, you can get the DVD. And then because I'm me, I have a Google alert for this. And then all of a sudden I got the Google alert that it was back. So I don't know what happened with the license, or if it was one of those. I remember they lost Gilmore Girls one day and everyone went nuts on the internet. I don't know if it was one of those situations, but it is back on Netflix now. And hello, I saw the Insatiable Bookie pop up. Welcome.
Hello, Danny, the Insatiable Bookie. And I just want to tell you how much I love Danny, the Insatiable Bookie, so much. She's actually the one that introduced me to BookTube. I had no idea what BookTube was until I met this wonderful, beautiful woman. And so I'm really happy that she is joining us with this. And she said she watched it. She loved it. That's awesome. And Romance Queen of BookTube, I will have to look it up. Yay! She didn't know that it was available on Netflix. There we go. Love it. Okay, seriously, girl, blushing, Danny says. Girl, you know I love you, and I'm trying real hard to get you to come to my in real life book club. I'm not giving up on you.
The virtual space is becoming real all of a sudden.
I know. I know. Oh, thank you, Danny. You are awesome, too.
Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. I love seeing the comments pop up. So yeah, I think we just got some more people, so we didn't actually answer the original question. So what book got you into romance? And I want to know your answers in the comment section. What was the book that kicked off the love of this genre? I want to know.
Okay, well, for me, my first ever romance book that I read. Oh, Max. He wants to be a part of it.
Yeah, he's like, I have a romance book that I want to talk about.
Okay. The first romance book that I read is called Words of Silk by Sandra Brown. And it was written in the 80s, I believe. She did a lot of her romance work, contemporary romance, in the 80s. She mostly writes suspense romance now, but she is an Insta author for me. Like no joke. She's writing something, I'm buying it, and I'm reading it because she is amazing. I fell in love with her world building, her storytelling, her character development. Just, she has it all. She has it all. And I really love Sandra Brown as an author. I first read that probably when I was about 16, 17 years old. And then after I read that book, I immediately went to my local good used book sale or store, and I was just trying to find literally everything she had ever written. And I do. I have everything she's ever written. And it's amazing. I love it.
The library right there. Because you said you started when you were 16. So this has been going on for a while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for the better part of 10 years. Better part of the decade. So, but yeah, she has written herself over 80 novels. So I have all of hers. And yeah, definitely.
Do you have her little shelf? When you say 80, like she's going to be a part of your library.
Oh yeah, she has, it's not in here, unfortunately, because my other bookshelf in my main, quote unquote, library where my husband is building my bookshelves, I think the authors go from A to M on that one shelf, and she takes up 2 rows. I'm not even, it's amazing.
Oh my goodness.
The comments are blowing up.
That is, I mean, this is relationship goals right now. Building her a bookshelf, people. I mean, talk about the best husband right there.
He is the best. And I didn't even bring it up. Like I'm more than happy to get these like bookshelves from like Walmart or IKEA or whatever. And he's like, no, I'm going to build you some bookshelves. I'm like, okay. And they're gorgeous. They mount onto the wall, floor to ceiling, gorgeous.
That is true love right there. That is just, that's, you know, I love it. It's so sweet. We're getting comments. I'm so excited. Do you want to read them? Because I keep doing that awkward, like, lean in with my glasses.
Yeah, I can read them. Jenna, she's saying, getting a look into some of the author's processes and how the community was built was really cool. She's talking about the documentary. These were so many authors I've added to my TBR list. Jenna, same. I literally, every single author that spoke or was mentioned in Love Between the Covers, I wrote down their name and I want to literally get everything they've ever written.
The documentary introduced me to Eloisa James, then I introduced Eloisa to you. So
yes.
Forward. Because I saw the documentary when it first came out, and so Eloisa has been like the love of my life for like the last 2 years, and then I got to introduce her to you. So
yeah. And she's fantastic. I mean, I've just read that historical romance, and oh, it was just fantastic. I love historical romance just in general, but she is like the creme de la creme. She's fantastic. And Kristen Ashley, hi. I was always taught that romance novels were immoral, quote unquote. Yes, that's one of the stigmas and such. But with some of your videos, I'm able to see that, as you said in a recent video, that they are not smut or anything like that. And I love that. That's great.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. I actually, that's so sweet. Videos matter. Oh my goodness. Yeah, clearly I'm gonna cry.
That's really great. I love I love all of Angela's videos, just putting that out there. But the couple ones that she just came out, like the one that you just released, the stigma and romance, I love that video. And
thank you.
You're welcome. And obviously that's something that we're going to talk about tonight, just because the documentary does hit the nail on the head of like why this romance genre, just this genre, is just why the stigma surrounds it. And I love that. If you haven't watched it, please go to her channel, watch it. But after the live stream,
you really are gonna make me cry. I've had like a long day, so I touched up my eye makeup before we started filming this. And my eyeliner is going to be like down. I'm gonna have the raccoon eyes. Oh my goodness. That is so
you were just so eloquent in how you were discussing it, and you're just so passionate. And I saw that, and I was just, every time you said something, I was like, yes, girl, yes, preach it. Because seriously, these are things that need to be discussed and need to be talked about. And just to know that it's safe. It's safe for you to want to read romance, and to enjoy it. You don't have to hide, like we said in a previous video, that, people actually rip covers off of romances because they don't want to be associated with it. And I just thought that, that's just so sad to me. And the fact that, you just say it so eloquently and beautifully. Aww. And I just can't wait to discuss more about it. And it's going to be great.
See, yeah, I mean, when you say immoral, I went to a private Catholic school my entire life. So I remember when they did Grease, like they cut out Rizzo's pregnancy. Like I went to a very, conservative type of school. And I mean, I didn't start reading romances probably until a little bit later when I was an undergraduate. I always loved the relationship narrative. I love watching people fall in love. It doesn't matter what the story is somehow. I always just want to follow the hero or the heroine or the protagonists. I mean, I remember reading The Great Gatsby and I was so upset about Daisy. I was really, really upset. And then same thing with Gone with the Wind. I mean, I wanted Rhett to give a damn at the end. I'm like, you need to give it, like when he says, when he says his classic line, I'm like, no, you need to care. And so I always followed the romance relationship narrative, even when it wasn't the focus point of the, of the story. And so it's kind of a natural progression to go from reading romance YA and NA to reading full-on romance genre. And when I started, I've always had a background in gender studies. And so it was kind of the perfect combination of all my interests in one area. I love it. I'm so happy that you guys are talking about this with me right now, and you're here and we're doing this. This is a dream come true.
I love how you said that you're drawn to the relationship narrative, and I'm the same way. No matter what genre I'm reading, whether it's sci-fi, fantasy, young adult, I'm really, if there is a relationship involved in the story, I am that much more drawn to the story that I'm reading. And I love that too. Like what you said, like for Gone with the Wind, you need to give a damn. Like seriously, there are some times where I'm just like yelling at the book, or just in my head, I'm just like, love each other.
But that's one of the things I love about the romance genre with the guaranteed happily ever after. You're going to watch the journey. You're going to watch them struggle. But you know, no matter how bad it gets, you still have hope. You still know it's going to get resolved. So I think there's a way of enjoying it that's completely different than other genres and other books. I mean, I mentioned this during the Cozy Mystery live stream, and this is kind of my go-to example. I even put this in my dissertation proposal when I was trying to say, this is why the experience is different. When you're watching Game of Thrones, you have no idea what's going to happen. It's one of those heart-pounding, racing, you're not really sure who's going to die, who's safe. I mean, you lose Ned Stark, you got the Red Wedding, you're all over the place. And I think there's some sort of safety in knowing that there's the happily ever after for me as the reader that I just truly appreciate. And that's one of the things this is one of the things against the genre, but this is one of the reasons why I love it. I don't know if that's else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Like they even talked about that in the documentary, like that happily ever after. You think that you'd read the same storyline, the same book, 20 million times, because that is an underlying theme in romance genres, is the happily ever after. And it doesn't matter what kind of trope it is, whether it would be happily ever after or love triangles or, something else, or the good girl transforms the bad boy or whatever trope that you think is annoying to you, someone else loves. And, it's like, just because like it annoys you personally doesn't mean that it shouldn't be written, just because there is somebody like you, Angela, like me. I love the happily ever after trope, that need that in their life, just the safety, like you said, the safety net of, everything is going to be okay. Even though they are struggling, everything is going to be great. And I love that too. I love it.
I mean, I love this as well. There's something about the romance genre that I think is really brilliant with the marketing and how they're able to accept, yeah, not everyone's going to love this book. I'm writing this for people who want the bad boy or the people who want the second chance. I mean, if you don't like a second chance romance, you're probably not going to be purchasing one, but the people who love it will. And so I think this is something rather unique to romance, where they're writing a very specific story for a niche audience, whereas for a lot of young adult books or just a lot of books in general, they're like, if you have a pulse, this book is for you. So I think the specificity of it really adds another level to kind of the enjoyment factor as a reader. It's almost as if there's a book written just for you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
And I just noticed Jenna's comment up top where she says, The Knight in Shining Armor was the first book, but I love the second part when you say how the main character became more confident, independent throughout her journey. I love that because the heroine is so important in the genre. And I mean, come on, what other genre places a woman right next to the man on every single occasion?
Yeah, I love that so much. And Jude Devereaux, she is another author that I follow, not as heavily as some other authors, but I do enjoy her writing, her storytelling. And the first book I ever read by her, it was Wild Orchids. And that actually has some kind of magical realism and fantasy elements. So that kind of was like, it stepped me to the fantasy genre. So I really, enjoy Jude Devereaux, her writing style, and I do need to read more of her. There's so many books that I have of hers that I haven't read yet, so I'm glad that you enjoyed that. And I haven't read that particular one, so definitely thanks for the rec, So
I know, scrolling down the comments, I'm like, yeah, you might, I'm Kristen Ashley, yeah, you might make me cry if you keep complimenting my video. I mean, it's nice to see people appreciate it. I just saw the don't cry because I'll cry. I don't want to make you cry. I mean, you're allowed to cry.
Oh yeah, oh my gosh. If someone starts crying, I'm crying, and then we're both crying, and then whoo. Christian Hadley says, getting Higgy with and Bookables got me into BookTube. Okay, so I'm new to the genre. Just wanted to branch out because I was in a reading slump. Nice. I'm glad. Hopefully you enjoy some of the recommendations that I gave you this morning. And the Insatiable Bookie, Danny, Mom's Harlequin stack. Yes, Mom and her Danielle Steele and Harlequin. And that's definitely, I think a lot of girls reach out to the romance genre just because their mom did. Their mom read it. And that is even discussed in the documentary, how it's just like kind of like a family thing where it's just through the generations. Mom read romance. Now I'm going to read romance. And my daughter would probably read romance just because it's available in the house. Just like Danny said, Mom's Harlequin stack. She had a stack of books somewhere. But yeah, it's great.
this is, again, because I do the gender studies and I've read so many of these analytical journal articles about this. I am truly fascinated by the fact that it's kind of the female line where it's women passing it on to other women. Nobody said, oh, my dad bought me a Harlequin. I mean, I love my dad, but he was never going to buy me a Harlequin.
Never. Oh my gosh.
I mean, I love him, but I mean, I'm fascinated by how everyone tends to say, oh, my mother, my grandmother. I've never heard, I'm sure there's someone out there, and if you are this person, you have to tell me, but very rarely does someone say, oh, my grandfather bought me this. I've never heard anyone say that as of yet, so I think there's something kind of beautiful that this is kind of a safe space for kind of the female voice to emerge and feel heard. So I saw the hashtag female power. I'm slowly making my way through the
Me too. Me too. Romance Queen of Books. Let me see.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Great Gatsby is awesome. I just saw that. I mean, it is a great book, but I mean, it took me a little while to move past, you know, there's not a happily ever after in there. So it is a great literary piece. I'm not taking that away. I'm not saying the damned and the beautiful are damned.
It's like a tragedy, really. Romance Queen of Booktube, Lurleen McDaniel. I haven't heard of this author, so I read a lot of her books in high school. I love inspired / historical romance. Plus, I like steamy romance. Girl, same. And Diana Palmer, I've heard of her. I think I have 1 or 2 books by her. Maureen Child, Linda Miller, and so many more. I've heard a couple of those. I'll have to look up the other ones. Yeah. Jenna, that book is so cheesy, but it was what teenage me needed to read. The Knight in Shining Armor. I love the cheese factor. Don't get me wrong. I love, you know, that kind of.
Yeah, we were having this conversation. So I'm not naming names, but there was a particular video where someone was giving advice saying, don't do cheesy, don't do cliches, don't do tropes. And first of all, there are differences between cliches, tropes, and archetypes. Those are different things. Just saying. And so he was interchangeably, just throwing that out there. But sometimes you want those things. I know, I mean, I know it's not going to win a Pulitzer Prize. Some of those things are cheesy and they're meant to be cheesy, but that's kind of why I love some of them. I mean, just there are some romances. They have the novellas now where they do like hot bites or hot bits. And so, yeah, they have these less than 2-hour reads. Again, it's probably not going to win a literary award, but they're super fun to read.
I totally get what you mean. And honestly, if you're a writer, if you're looking to be a writer, going into whatever genre it is, write what you want to write. I mean, you can watch these videos up and down that say tropes to avoid, writing mistakes to avoid, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, no matter, like I said, no matter what you think is a trope or what people hate, or there is someone out there, someone that wants to read what you're writing.
That's my dog Max who wants to read your stuff.
Max! I keep kind of just going back to that quote from the documentary. Like, if you have a cup of tea, if you want a cup of tea, someone's pouring it for you. No matter what it is, just write it and someone's going to want it, you know? And I watch those videos for fun. But honestly, if it's in my brain, if it's nagging at me to get it down on paper, I'm going to write it. And honestly, if you don't like it, totally cool, totally fine. I'm okay if you don't like my writing. I'm a big girl. I can handle it. But there is someone out there who will like it. And I'm writing it for them, you know, and it's like, I'm also writing it for myself because preach.
You're like, preach. I'm like, doing that. The dog, he's like, yeah, I agree with her too.
Max seconds, like, yes, girl, preach.
Well, there's that Christina Aguilera GIF on Twitter that I use all the time where she's got her hand up in the air going, preach. I'm like, that is what this moment is for me, that Christina Aguilera GIF where I'm like, preach right there.
Yes.
This is what I was saying before about the specificity. I mean, not everyone is going to like the same things. And the fact that romance is so catered really does make it something for everyone. So even though I know this is the romance genre we're talking about, I mean, read something different.
My dogs are barking.
My dogs are your dogs. But I mean, people within romance, we can have someone who loves, strictly paranormal and someone else who loves strictly mystery. But they can still both be avid and voracious romance readers. And I love that. Absolutely. And I've noticed we have more comments. I'm sorry.
We're getting through them.
Well, yes, I love that quote. I think I put that on Twitter. Yeah, we keep the lights on in publishing. It's true. Romance is the best-selling genre. They have the best, their marketing is spot on. I'm fascinated because, again, I've been studying this intricately. And so I have all the facts and figures. I have 3 5-inch binders that are filled. I have a lot of research.
Wow.
And when there is that change and that shift with e-publishing, romance was the only one that had a positive 1/4. Every other genre was on, really struggling on that line, not really breaking even at some points. But then all of a sudden you see romance and it was still high. And I'm going, see, right there.
That's amazing. I love that quote too. Like, the romance genre keeps the lights on. I really love that. Cats are books fans. Hello, how are you? Romance books are awesome. I totally agree with you. Romance Queen of Booktube. Yes, I want that happily ever after. It makes things so much better. It does. So much better. Danny at the Insatiable Bookie says, I loved that in the documentary that the writers were like, yeah, we keep the lights on. Female power.
They do.
It's so, Jackie Nolan, you're not late. We're just getting started. Hello, how are you? Kristen Ashley, I put on Twitter in response to Angela's questions that I love heroines that are driven, passionate, determined. Yes. And that just goes with the female power and how this genre is written by women, for women, about women. Love it. And really, there's really not another genre that just gives women such a great and powerful voice to be heard. And I love it.
I mean, this is something, again, I've been trying to read as many different things on romance as possible. And I was fascinated by the romance advice, the writing books on how to write romance novels. And so a lot of the writers would say, look, your hero is important. He needs to be swoon-worthy. You need to love him. You need to root for him. But your heroine, she's the key to the novel. And they were placing emphasis on her. And then when you read the analytical, journal articles talking about the heroine, they address her as his equal. I mean, the way people approach the heroine is just, it makes me so happy. It's so important. And I wish that this wasn't the only genre that placed the same amount of emphasis on the heroine. But I really appreciate the fact that this is true for romance. And I love that you say driven, passionate, and determined. I mean, I was using the Claire GIF from Outlander. I mean, there are so many heroines to choose from. And they're not, they're not archetypes. They're not, one-dimensional. I mean, I love my thrillers. I love thrillers. But sometimes she's killed off instantly. I mean, come on.
I know. I was like, what is with the, female character in thrillers that are killed off immediately? Like, she could have been really important. You never know.
I mean, you're talking about this with Buffy, where it was the first time a little blonde girl wasn't killed off instantly. When it's, we were talking about Sarah Michelle Gellar because both of us love Buffy. But I mean, it's one of the first times my little blonde character, who obviously I can relate to because I'm short and blonde, it was one of the first times she wasn't killed off in one of those horror sequences. And this is, again, part of the reason why I love the romance genre. So I'm curious how everyone else perceives the heroine, why you love her, what type of heroine you root for. Oh, I'm seeing comments. Vampires, yes. I saw Twilight was referenced up above. I forget in what context, though.
Yes, I did see that too. Let me see.
Hey, you're getting a compliment on your unicorn lights in the background.
Oh, thanks. I love my unicorn lights. Only one thing, that they're all they're not colorful. I thought they were going to be colorful, but they're just like the white light. I'm like, okay, maybe I can spray paint some glitter on there. I don't know. But, so yeah, lots of comments. Okay, I'm catching up. Lady Gizmo, going over to friends' houses, you could recognize, quote unquote, romance books tossed in the corner because covers were ripped off and were well read, passed on from person to person, like they're used books. And, yeah, I love that. I don't like the ripping off the cover. That just, to me, it just seems like, oh, it's just because I just have this in my mind. Right. I just have this in my mind that women have done that just because they don't want to show off what they're reading, and or that they're ashamed that they're reading romance. I'm like, don't be ashamed. Flaunt it. It's great. It's a great genre.
So, I mean, this is something, again, I'm going to be studying this full-on academic style later on, but since we are talking about it, I'd love to know how you perceive the stigma. Does it affect you? Are you embarrassed? Because over on Twitter, I was trying to say, this even came up because I don't know if she feels comfortable with me saying this, but somebody said the first book that got them into romance was 50 Shades. And she said, sorry, not sorry. I'm like, well, don't be sorry at all. Even when you have to say sorry, not sorry. I don't care what gets you into reading as long as you're reading. And then read what makes you happy. Read what you're passionate about. this is a judgment-free zone. We're not
exactly. I love that. I love that. Exactly.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you have a story, tell us. I mean, I kind of want to know how you perceive the stigma. Has it affected you? Is this the first time you feel, I mean, we have the queen of romance over here with the queen of, what's your name? Romance queen of booktube. I mean, clearly in your title, you're not afraid of the stigma, but I'm sure maybe a couple other people didn't do a book review or something because there was a steamy scene. So if you have something you want to share, I want to know.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. Cats Are Books fan. Buffy the Vampire Slayer rocks. Yes, it does. Jenna, the Love at Stake series. Oh my gosh. Carolyn Sparks. I love that series. Beth, oh my gosh. That is so, it is. It's funny and cute. And it kind of like takes like the horror of vampires and just turns it funny. Like the first book is called How to Marry a Millionaire Vampire, and it's about this vampire who goes to the
I know that's I was trying to place it. I was really trying to be sneaky looking it up on my phone. I was trying to go on Google, like, that's how I knew it. That right there.
The first book is literally about a vampire who has to go to the dentist to fix his broken tooth. I'm like, that is so, it's so cute and so funny. I love that series. And oh, I love that you love that. It's awesome. That was my favorite all through college. It's still my favorite. Is she still writing books in that series? Because I need to catch up.
Jenna, you're not embarrassed by romance novels. That makes me so happy. I don't want people to be embarrassed, but I feel as if a lot of people are. So I'm really happy you're not. You are a standard. I love you. We need to aspire to be like you.
Yes, absolutely. Danny at the Insatiable Bookie, disfigured books make me sad. Same.
I personally annotate. If I grabbed you my copy of, one of the Harry Potter books, it's going to have highlights, it's going to have notes in the margins. But when you rip off the covers, that's where it takes on a whole new connotation.
Right. That's what I'm like. I don't write or highlight in my books, but I do write sticky notes, like Post-it notes, and I stick them on the page. But yeah, just like ripping off the cover, it hurts. It hurts a little bit thinking about it. Kristen Ashley, I'm an English major. Shakespeare was considered controversial in his time. Now he's studied in most schools. Romance is similar. I could see that. Yeah, absolutely. I can see that comparison. And there is Shakespeare sonnets mostly, because I know most of his plays, like even though there is the underlying romance theme, they are considered mostly tragedies. Even Romeo and Juliet, everybody thinks that that's like this giant like romantic story. And I'm like, no, it's about two teenagers. Even this is said in the documentary.
Nora Roberts talked about this in the documentary, and I was so excited when I ever saw that. I'm going, yes, Romeo, Nora Roberts, queen, we bow down to her. Go on. I just want to throw that out there.
Absolutely. I love Nora Roberts and how she said this in the documentary. Like, everyone has this like, oh, Romeo and Juliet, this classic love story. It's like, no, it's a tragedy. It's about two teenagers who kill themselves. It's not, it's like, it's not really considered a romance. If you look up Romeo and Juliet, it's a tragedy. And even though, yes, it has a romance and two people love each other, it doesn't have the happily ever after. And really, I mean, what kind of ending is that? I'm like, what? But obviously, yeah, it's like very controversial. Holy moly,
I mean, you did make me think of one thing. I mean, he did have royalty in the audience, and he would have high-powered elites of his day. And so, I mean, I would pay big money to see the current queen reading a Harlequin. I would pay major money to see her.
So would I.
I think that's hysterical.
That would be fantastic. She probably does. Don't even.
I mean, that I pretty much, Eloisa James with her quote, the academic study of popular romance fiction is still in its infancy. I've memorized it. But it's true because, again, I've been having a very difficult time getting my PhD dissertation proposal off the ground floor, because a lot of people, when I would say I want to study the romance genre, they're thinking the Harlequin era, they're thinking bodice rippers. They're kind of just closing the door before I even get the chance to show them my proposal. And this has taken me, I've been looking for an advisor since August, and I just met up with someone, and she's a Jane Austen scholar, and so I officially have an advisor for my dissertation. But it's taken me such a long time because romance isn't considered in the same way as other genres and other studies. And I mean, as an academic, I kind of got that stigma associated with my project before I even got to open my mouth and tell them why I wanted to study it. And so I think that it's still an emerging field, and they now have the they now have the association, Romance Popular Studies. Eric Seigler, I don't want to mispronounce his last name. They just created it a couple years ago, but I mean, this took a long time to get off the ground. I mean, it just got started. How is that possible that this wasn't in existence beforehand? Just saying.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I just, you know, I felt for you when you put that video out there that you were just like breaking down, and that you could not get this up off the ground just because of that, you know, stigma that is surrounding romance, and how this is just so near and dear to your heart, but you couldn't get anyone to back you. You couldn't even explain yourself because people are just shutting you down so quickly. And I just thought, those bitches.
For the record, I haven't vlogged as of late because it's literally just me sitting in front of my computer as of the last couple of months. I haven't actually had anything to tell you about vlog-wise, but I was vlogging my journey getting this PhD dissertation off and running, and the last vlog I did, I am hysterically crying. It was not a happy day for Books Are My Heart over here. It was not a good day, and so I almost didn't even publish it. In fact, I published it, then pressed the private button, and then I worked at the Card and said, you know what, no, I'm going to show this, and then I made it public again. But yeah, it's been a real struggle getting this taken seriously. And so there's 4 people in my PhD program, and one of them is studying the representations of race, and someone else is studying internet governance. And so when I'm sitting there talking about romance genre, I'm kind of getting those little looks like, what did you just say?
And that just makes me so sad, because, and I'm glad that you did build that courage and made it public, because that needs to be heard. That is just, you know, it's just so ridiculous to me how still women are not taken seriously. It's 2018, people, and women are not taken seriously. Like, our voices like can't be heard, you know. And I felt for you, and really I just wanted to, you know, fly to DC and be like, what are you doing? Listen to the beautiful woman.
Well, so that video, I haven't checked comments on it, but the same with the stigma. I mean, a lot of people seem to really respond when I put that video out the other day. I mean, instantly I got quite a few views. I mean, it hasn't broken the 100 yet, I don't think, but I got a thumbs down very quickly on it. But then other people were so excited to see that. And I mean, you can't please everybody, but the people who were so excited about me talking about the romance stigma, I'm going, this video is for you. So
exactly,
just keep doing you, keep reading your romance books.
Absolutely.
Comments pop up. You're falling behind.
I know. I was like, Romance Queen of BookTube. I got looks from reading physical books. Got the looks. Yes. Like, oh my gosh, are you reading that? I know that look all too well, girl. That's for sure. I read a lot off my Kindle. That's probably one of the other things that romance readers go to is the Kindle, because it's more private. I believe they talk about that in the documentary. And Jenna, the series is finished, but I think she has started a new one. She's talking about Carolyn Sparks, the Love at Stake series.
I'm curious if everybody else, what your reading preference is when it comes to romance. Are you ebook romance readers? Are you physical paperback romance readers? I'm curious now. Romance Queen of BookTube. This was something I actually had down on one of my Post-it notes. So you brought this up early. I'm really curious because honestly, some of the romance books that I found aren't in paperback, or they'll come out as ebooks first, and then maybe a few months later, they'll come out as paperbacks. I know Karina Press automatically puts things out as ebooks first, and then if it sells well, then it's a paperback. So I know there are factors in the publishing industry that might prevent the paper element from coming into play.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Cat R Books fans, if you like steamy romance, vampires and witches, then you should check out the book called The Witch, the Wolf, and the Vampire by A.K. Michaels. There are 3 books altogether. I will check it out because that's right up my alley. Jackie Nolan, I'm sometimes embarrassed just because of the reactions I get from people. They say, oh, you read those books. I just, like, it's so shameful. True, I've had those looks multiple times from my own mother-in-law. I was telling her about a book I was reading, and she was like, oh, well, you know, that's not like real life. You shouldn't have those expectations going into marriage or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I'm completely aware. Don't you worry.
Well, who's telling you it's shameful? Because you're saying it's your mother-in-law, and I'm curious over here, Jackie, who's telling you it's shameful? I mean, I remember reading a book one time, and it wasn't even like a steamy, it wasn't even a Fabio steamy cover or something, but I remember I was sitting, I think it was, I might have been an undergraduate, I was sitting on the campus, I was waiting for one of my classes, I'm sitting there with my book, and people passing me would kind of give me those looks, like they do the little eyebrow raise, wondering, what's there?
What's she reading?
It was strangers, and I'm at that moment of, you don't even know me, but you're very clearly judging me right now. I mean,
I think if it's one thing that some people do excel at is judgment. And, you know, like they don't know you from Adam, but they, you know, from your appearance to what you're reading to what you're wearing to, you know, yeah, definitely the judgment factor. And Romance Queen of BookTube at Kristen Ashley just says that's so wrong.
I read a journal article as well, and so it's not just the readers. There was a journal article, I can't remember the authors, but there are two sociologists. They did an article, and it was called Sneers and Leers. I believe maybe it was Leers and Sneers, but I think it was Sneers and Leers. Like, people would be leering at the writers, so they were judging the writers for producing the content.
Oh my goodness.
It was the reader consuming who was getting judged. It was also the writers, and people... This was what was fascinating. This is something I actually want to talk about myself eventually with my own study. But people were approaching the writers, asking them about their own marriage and their, you know, own private situations. I mean, nobody's going up to Stephen King asking him how to hide dead bodies. They're not asking him how to commit murder. Why is someone asking romance writers what's going on in the bedroom? I mean, nobody's asking James Patterson how to get away with murder, but romance writers are getting really inappropriate questions. How is that fair?
Right, exactly. I love how you brought that comparison in, because so true. They think like just because you're writing, like, it might even have a steamy scene, but quote unquote steamy scenes, smut, quote unquote, they're like, you know, really inappropriate questions. You know, it's just, you know, just because I write about this, like, doesn't mean just because I wrote this, or, you know, a lot of things that I've heard that say like women use romance as an escapism. There's something lacking in their life, that's why they read it. That's so not true. But even if it was, you know, like if a person wants to read romance because they want to escape and their situation is so terrible, yeah, that happens, but that's not the majority. Like, this is just like something that was written, that something doesn't have to be wrong or something is lacking in their life just because they're reading or writing something like this, you know? And it's just like, why are you putting that negative connotation on something? Why does automatically something have to be quote unquote wrong with them just because they're writing/reading the genre?
I mean, yeah, so Reading the Romance by Janice Radway, I think she published it in 1984 or 85. I don't remember the year off the top of my head. It was in the 80s. I think it was 84. I'm going to have to Google this because it's going to bug me if I'm wrong. But she published a study. This was the seminal work in romance studies. It is still the most cited. And it was one of the first studies talking about the romance reader. And she found a group of women in one location. And as much as I respect Radway, you could tell she was judging them just a little for reading romance. And she found that some of them were reading for escapism. But I feel as if that's not fair to say. Just because some of them are doesn't mean everyone is. I mean, she doesn't say that, but I mean, you could tell when some of them admitted the escapism, you could tell that doesn't necessarily sit well. And I mean, so what if someone wants to read for escape? That is their prerogative. And if they enjoy that escape, so be it.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Totally. Jackie Nolan, people assume romance books are nothing but people going at it the entire book. I actually don't read those. I want a plot, LOL. I read romance books to get the story of two people falling in love. Absolutely. People, I love that. You know, sometimes you just need that. What were you saying?
The Christina Aguilera gif again, like, preach, like, I'm like agreeing with you wholeheartedly. I love that comment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just, you know, that's a plot in and of itself. Two people meeting and getting to know each other and falling in love and having this relationship. That is a plot. Like, I don't understand why there are some, you know, people who have this, you know, who, you know, look at the romance genre and saying like that storyline, two people meeting, getting to know each other, falling in love, having a relationship, having a happily ever after is not a plot. It is a plot. You know, it's just the plot of those two people. Just because, you know, it's not like a fantasy or a sci-fi or, you know, or like extra things aren't going on doesn't mean it doesn't necessarily have plot.
I mean, I'm trying to remember, I think it was called Wallpaper, where sometimes there's not necessarily as much detail for the story setting if it's historical. You can tell sometimes it is focused on the relationship and not necessarily creating the historical context. Other times, you have these romance writers who go to Scotland and do their research and put in so much detail and really capture the experience. I don't think it's fair when people judge a genre based on maybe one or two cheesy. I mean, again, I love the cheesy books, but sometimes they are cheesy. But I mean, if someone reads one book that has the trope or the archetype and they just judge the entire genre off of that, that's not necessarily fair.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Danny at the Insatiable Bookie, like somehow your project doesn't mean as much because it's not about race or Big Brother. This is a perfect time for your project. I love that. It is the perfect time for your project just because women's rights, women advocacy is such a big thing now. And as it should be. It should have been a big thing back like 20 years ago. But, you know, it's amazing to me how even though the female race or the female gender has gone through leaps and bounds to get heard, to get their voice, you know, heard, we still have this, we're still kind of, you know, still back a little bit more, you know, like it's not, I love how you say this is the perfect time for your project. It is. It's great. It's just, it needs to be said. This is something like you said, like when you put your video to private because you didn't want to show that emotion, you know, or, you know, the thing that was happening with your dissertation. I'm so glad you put it to public because people need to hear your story. People need to see how just the negative stigma of the romance genre affected you because people didn't want to listen to you. Because, like you said, romance genre is written by women for women, and somehow that makes it less. And that's not right. It needs to be heard. It needs to be fixed. And the fact how the time is now. And I love that so much.
I really appreciate you saying that because, again, so, I mean, I don't want to, you know, make this about my dissertation, but I originally pitched this back in August, and I didn't get full-on approval until probably December. I didn't get full-on approval until my dissertation proposal draft was due in 2 or 3 weeks. So I had to really scramble. But my topic, I had to really fight for it. And I have again, I do entertainment pop culture studies. And so my professor was very much trying to say, oh, why don't you go back to studying Last Week Tonight? And I'm going, I don't want to spend a year and a half of my life on Last Week Tonight. I've been studying this. I had already taken a feminist theory class and done a paper on romance. I had already taken a gender studies class. I had taken 2 literature classes. I got my master's at Georgetown, and so I went back to do Courseways, and I went back to take some more literature classes, even though I have a background in English. So I had already been preparing myself to do this project, and I had already been doing a lot of research. And so it was something I really, really wanted to do, but that didn't mean it was going to get approved right away. Having the passion for it isn't enough. You have to be able to really pitch it in a way that makes it matter. And so it took a long time to phrase things accordingly and really kind of put a spin on it that was appropriate, so to speak, for my program and to really kind of appease the powers that be in my university. And so I got there. I'm not saying anything bad, but I mean, it did take me a while to really kind of get that step, make it go through.
And I love that. I love that you stuck with it because honestly, if it is so, you're so passionate about it and it means so much to you. And honestly, it is something that needs to be said. So I applaud you. You know, you're like a terrier, you know, you're just like, I want this to be my topic. I don't care what you say. I don't care if it's not important to you. It's important to me. And it's important to thousands, millions of other women out there who feel like they don't have a voice. And I love that.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. That's so sweet. I mean, in all honesty, it was it was a struggle. And I did have a couple times when I kind of went, okay, it would be easier if I just did a project on Last Week Tonight and John Oliver, whom I love, by the way. I'm not dissing the show, but I don't want to spend, X amount of hours a day studying it and doing this. I mean, when you do your dissertation, you're going to be spending hours upon hours upon hours analyzing every minute detail of something. I'm like, I don't want to do this for my dissertation. This is what I want to do. And it really, I really did have to kind of pick myself up off the floor a couple of times going, okay, this would be easier, but this is what I want to do. This is what matters to me. So I appreciate the fact that you say all these wonderful things. It makes me
I'm just glad. I'm glad that finally, you got that approval and you can actually work on something that is passionate for you, because you're right. It's your dissertation. You're going to be writing and researching and doing all this stuff. And you want it to be something that you're passionate about. You don't want to have to do something just because, this is going to get approval so much easier and it's going to be easier and I should just do this. But no, I'm glad you stuck with it. Fantastic.
My eyeballs just went to the comment section.
I know, we're blowing up.
Diaries. As soon as I saw that, so HBO has them both free on demand right now. So if you have HBO, you can go watch Princess Diaries, because I did. I love Demopolis. I love Mia. And I also went and got Louie the cat. Like, I love those series.
Yeah, fantastic. Jackie.
I actually had like a CD to do the soundtrack because I love the song that they're dancing to at the very end. Same thing with the second one. There was a tweet one time saying Chris Pine in the last 5 years came to his own as an actor, and going, he was Nicholas. Like, I remember him from the Princess Diaries. Like, he's been around people. You can't just say Chris Pine's now an actor. He was in the Princess Diaries.
Exactly. I feel the same way. Oh my gosh. We have a couple comments that Jackie, she reads both physical and Kindle, going back to that preference. Jenna says she likes physical books better, but my Kindle is so nice and portable. Yes, portability. And
in front of the libraries that are not portable.
Portability. Could you imagine? Because I have this big purse. My husband hates it. I have this ginormous purse because honestly, I carry at least 2 books with me at any given time. So I know he loves it when I tote my Kindle around, just because I have access to so many books at one time in this small little thing. But there's something about the physical books as I'm petting them behind me.
I mean, I will admit my ebooks, they rack up. I mean, at least when I see a physical book, I can move them around. Whereas with my ebooks, I'll buy the 99-cent one and I'll buy 5 of them at a time or something. And then after a certain point, there's just a lot to be scrolled through. There are quite a few ebooks on my Kindle app right now that I need to read.
Yes. Yeah, seriously. That's how they get you. It's the free or the 99-cent ones. And you're like, oh, that's nothing. If I don't like it, whatever. And then it's a series and you have to pay $2.99, $3.99 for the other ones. Yeah, that's how they get you.
My heart just broke. You learn to read with a flashlight. You read them with a flashlight at night, or you would keep them at school. My heart just broke for you. I'm so sorry for your reading experience.
Who's saying that? I can't see it.
It's right.
Kristen Ashley. I learned to read with a flashlight at night, or just keep them at school. That's so sad to me. I had to hide that series too. Oh my gosh, you have to hide books. That makes me sad. Yep, definitely. Jenna says that Christian Ashley, that sounds like Harry Potter hiding his books from the Dursleys. LOL.
I mean, we can do the Harry Potter references. Our go-to now, the Troll in the Dungeon. That's my go-to. Because every single book on BookTube, you get a troll. So they're just the Troll in the Dungeon. Then you think of Harry Potter, and then you don't care that there's a troll in the dungeon.
so true. Jackie Nolan, Kristen Nicholas Sparks is what I got started on as well. Nicholas Sparks, yes, I own every single book.
So fun fact, he is not romance genre. He is fiction. No. And he is very adamant about that distinction. He doesn't go to romance conventions. He goes to other literary conventions. He's very particular about how you categorize him. And so this is something, again, I was fascinated about. Nicholas Sparks, he gets a lot of credit. I love him. The Notebook, I've been crying over that movie since it came out. Every time I cry. It doesn't matter how many times I've seen it. I love them. Noah and Allie, they are everything. Same thing with A Walk to Remember, Logan.
Oh my God. A Walk to Remember. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Jamie, I love that entire movie. Landon and Jamie, they were probably my favorite Nicholas Sparks couple. But again, it's not a happily ever after for the pair. Spoiler alert, it's not a happily ever after. It's not romance genre, it's romance fiction. And I'm fascinated by that distinction. I mean, I love him, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything bad about Nicholas Sparks. I mean, he's a master of his craft. But it's very different in regards to like perception, how he writes literature. And he's a man, but Nora Roberts, a woman worth $400 million. She owns 2 mountains. I mean, she pretty much owns the town she lives in. I mean, this woman is successful, but her books don't get reviewed in major literary outlets. How is that possible?
Seriously, I knew that, like, when you go to Barnes & Noble, where do you find Nicholas Sparks? You find him in fiction. You don't find him in the romance. And the fact that he makes that big of a deal of the distinction kind of irks me just a little bit. I love Nicholas Sparks too, don't get me wrong. Like you said, A Walk to Remember, oh my gosh, The Notebook, Nights in Rodante, oh my gosh, yeah, all of those, but they are not their traditional happily ever after, you know, and that's kind of like what he's famous for. If you kind of like a lot of his books,
cry. Like one of like the things is like, can he make you cry?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like he is kind of known for his books ending tragically. And I like how you brought that up. Thank you. But I love Nicholas Sparks as well. I own everything he's ever written.
I saw it pop up. I'm like, interesting fact. I'm totally doing that thing. Like, by the way, I'm doing that weird academic lean in.
Yes.
I mean, Kristen, I'm fascinated by it. Just
yeah, that is, I didn't know that. So thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. Kristen Ashley, she's like, I'm rolling my eyes at Sparks now.
I mean, in all fairness though, like A Walk to Remember, I love that movie adaptation of his novel. The novel's very different. It has that, I think it's set in the 1950s, if I remember correctly. Yes. In my head. Mm-hmm. I mean, the movie adaptation has my heart. That is
oh my gosh. I am right there with you. Every time that movie is on television, I have to stop what I'm doing and watch it.
Amazon Prime. If you have a Prime Amazon membership, you can go watch it. It's also free on demand under Freeform. I know these things. Just like I knew The Princess Diaries was on with HBO. I know this. Clearly, I follow these things. But yeah, I like the comment.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bookie. I was like, we lost Insatiable Bookie. She has to go to her husband now. Like, goodbye.
Oh, bye.
I don't know if she left us a while ago and we just noticed.
I know, and we just now noticed.
I just saw that. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Bye. If she's still here, wish you well.
I used to work with her husband. That's how I know her.
Your friend with a master's degree in physics from Harvard. That is a pitch right there. I love how you're like, my very intelligent friend. I love that. My master's degree in physics from Harvard. I love that.
Into reading romances. I love that so much.
I mean, I just joined a few months back. I joined a physical romance book club, and every time I go, so the woman I'm friends with, she's a lawyer. Oh, and so she went to NYU. Another woman is, oh my gosh, she's got a PhD in neuroscience, and then another woman, she did her PhD, but she didn't do the dissertation. So she's all but, what is it, something NBD or something, like all but dissertation. And then another woman, she has her master's degree from Harvard, and then the girl who founded the club has her PhD from Harvard. And so all of these smart women are at these meetup groups, and I'm going, oh my goodness, like
these beautiful
this is not
smart women.
I'm so happy. It's like we broke the stereotype. I mean, there is that stereotype, and I mean, there's so many stereotypes when it comes to the romance reader of, you know, she's 70 years old in her rocking chair with her cat, and she's the old maid. She's just got her romance novels to keep her company. And so
fantastic.
I mean, it's true. There's certain stereotypes that people have in their mind that are just completely inaccurate. And I was so happy to be meeting these women. I was so proud that these people, A, came out to a physical meetup to admit they read romance novels. But B, I'm thinking, yes, this is exactly it. We're not a stereotype. Thank you for proving this. Oh my goodness.
Yep. Oh. Okay. I love how Jenna's like, what? Oh, come on, Nicholas Sparks, you write romance. Preach.
Oh, Chris and Ashley, you have your own place now. I'm happy for you. And you are rolling your eyes at Nicholas Sparks. I mean, he's a good writer.
He's great. Don't get me wrong. Teresa White, how do you feel about romantic suspense? I love it. Sandra Brown, if you haven't read anything from her, she writes wonderful romance, suspense romance. Fantastic.
Oh, bye, romance queen of booktube. I don't know if you've left already, but good luck with the kids, getting them ready for bed.
Oh, yeah, I know. Let me see. Yep, everyone's saying good night to the Insatiable Bookie and the romance queen of booktube. For those of us that are sticking around with us still, do we want to
I do want to clarify. So Nora Roberts does own 2 mountains. I believe her net worth is north of $400 million, all from writing romance. So the owns 2 mountains is correct.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It is true.
Do we want to do some talking points about the documentary?
I will talk about anything romance related. So if you guys have questions, you want to chime in about the documentary, about your reading experiences, about just anything in general, your favorite romance books, I just want to know your thoughts. So comment away. Because this is so exciting to me. Because when I was first talking to Nicole, I told her, I said, I believe I'm paraphrasing myself right now. I said something like, I very rarely get to talk to other people about romance novels on BookTube. And I believe you were reading something that had caught my attention going, I read that, but nobody else on BookTube had read that same book. And I can't even remember what it was. And so, I mean, there's very few romance genre. And I don't want to say it, but it's the Vaginal Book Club. And they specifically talk about fantasy. So it's almost as if they have a validation of some sort because they're focusing on fantasy, or they have a very specific target audience because they have that fantasy component. And so this is just romance genre. We're just talking about it all.
Absolutely. I love that. And Teresa White says, I'll have to read Sandra now. Yes, do. And if you read one of her books, tell me how you like it. I've read all of her books, so I know all about it. Christian Ashley, researching Christian romance books now. Tell me what you find in the comments, because I really, really enjoy that. Yeah, the fact that, like you said, some of the other quote-unquote romance book clubs, how they kind of focus on different genres. Like, obviously, within the romance genre, there is paranormal, there's fantasy, there's, you know, a bunch.
I mean, the fantasy one in particular, I think it's really interesting to me, and this might be the academic in me coming out, but I think it's not just romance genre. They talk about romance fiction, and so again, the difference there. But I think you get to kind of get away with it a little bit more, because you get to say, oh, there's world building. There's all sorts of other factors to consider that makes it literary. Whereas sometimes I just want to pick up my contemporary romances. There's no world building. It's just set in the realism of everyday life and go from there. So I think the way it's kind of indirectly pitched or framed is a factor, at least to me. I don't know if that comes up for anybody else, but that was something I in particular noticed. I mean, I love them. I tune into them as well. And they have Felicia Day. I mean, I'm kind of a fan of her because of Supernatural.
Supernatural.
High five. Supernatural fan. Castiel forever. I mean, he's my favorite.
Oh my gosh. I love off topic. I mean, not really off topic because you brought her name up. I love Felicia Day, and spoiler alert to those who are not caught up on Supernatural. Angela, are you caught up on Supernatural?
Yeah. Okay.
Spoiler alert. Sorry. Very. I don't really appreciate how they always kill off strong female characters on Supernatural, and I don't like how they killed her off. But
hi, puppy, come here. He was like, "Mommy, pick me up." He jumped off, and then he changed his mind.
I don't know. I don't remember which Comic-Con it was at, but actually there was some fan in the audience who actually was talking to the writer or the director or producer or whoever they were talking to, the creator, basically blatantly asked, why do you find the need to kill off strong female characters on Supernatural?
What was her name? Jo, the daughter of the woman who is friends with Bobby, whose name I can't remember.
Yes.
Her off, and then they killed off her and her mom together.
Yes. And then Felicia Day's character. And then, you know, I'm just like, why do, like, they point blank ask, why do you feel the need you have to do that? And I just love, like, all of the actors. They're like, oh, yeah, gotta hide. Okay, let me see.
Hi, lady. I just saw you said you're leaving. I see we're getting comments.
Bye. I know, I see him too. There's a list on Goodreads, over 100 of them, Kristen Ashley says, for Christian romance. Nice. Teresa Wright, I don't like Christian romance after the 3rd book. Different authors, I couldn't take them anymore. Totally unrealistic. I get that. Sure.
So I got sent an arc before it was published. I think it's published now. I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend this book, but it was #Starstruck. The main character, she grew up Amish, and so she made a purity pledge to herself. And even though she's no longer within that religion, I think they left, or even though she grew up Amish, she's no longer part of it. She made a purity pledge, and that was a big factor in the story. So I know there are books that touch on religion, even though they're not categorized as such. So that might be something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah. Jackie Nolan is leaving. Bye. She has her kids to get to bed. I'll try to come back. Yes, try to come back. Lady Gizmo, sorry, I need to leave the group. Good night, ladies. I had a great time. Wonderful people here. Christian Ashley, fair enough. I've never read one, so I would borrow it from somewhere first. That's so true. Take advantage of your public library.
I mean, I tend to buy a lot of my books. And the other day, someone was recommending the Kindle Unlimited program, but those books revert back, so you can't keep them. And I like to keep them. Make my notes, and I like to be able to refer back, especially because this is part of my project. I like being able to keep an archive of my books. So I'm someone who buys a lot of books.
Me too. I totally get you. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm looking, I have my pen, I have my notes. I'm like, okay, what about this documentary? What are we going to talk about? I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there right away, because this is probably my favorite thing about the genre. The way they pitch the genre and they pitch the documentary is that it's such a positive outlet. This is what they do. This is their creative outlet. This is what makes them happy. And then there's this fandom. It's a community. They're supportive of one another. And I really love how Love Between the Covers, I know I just said love twice, redundancy, but I love how Love Between the Covers really captures how it's a supportive community, and the readers are writers and the writers are readers, and it's this interwoven, intermixed kind of group. They're not different. They're not looking, on different ends of the aisle. They're one and the same. It's one group. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I really love that too. I actually, just one thing that you said that kind of points out to me, remembering from the documentary, they're like, if you're even just thinking about writing a romance book, you just have an inkling, like 10 years down the road, you might eventually write a romance. You're a part of the group. I think that's so cool. Like, it's like, it is such a close knit, even though it is a multi-billion-dollar industry, how it is a family, and how you're welcome if you read or write or, anything, I just love that.
I mean, I think part of it comes to what we were kind of touching on beforehand about how there's something for everybody. And the thing about the romance genre I've personally noticed is it's not as competitive in a certain way. I mean, because it's so supportive, it's almost as if someone's going to read your book. So you're not competing for the same audience. If someone's going to read a paranormal, shifter, erotica, they're going to read the entire genre. They're not just going to read one and be done. If that's their genre or their subgenre, they're going to keep buying books in that category. So it's not as if only one person is going to succeed. Romance readers are voracious readers. They're going to keep coming back. They're going to keep reading. They're going to keep buying books. So it's not as if you really are competing for that, I need to be #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. It's not the same dynamic or standards or sort of just general atmosphere. The way they support each other, because they know the readership is there. It's unique. I don't see that in any other category.
I totally agree with you. In the documentary, they even say that the readers of the romance genre are the voracious readers. Like you just said, they are the readers that will read a book a day, 7 books a week. That kind of, they will read and read and read. And how, I think even Harlequin did this. Harlequin did the not necessarily, they didn't necessarily promote authors, they promoted the lines. They had like this, oh, the steamy line or the suspense line or the, you know, whatever. There was a genre within romance, and they did authors, like multiple authors within that genre in this line. And so if you liked shifter, paranormal, suspense, you just read everything in that genre. And I love that, how just, they're not just going to pick up one book, like one and be done. Like you said, they are the ones that are going to find everything they can. They're excited about trying new authors. They're excited about their particular brand of romance, and they will go out of their way to find and read everything that they can within that genre.
I mean, it reminds me of that quote, build it and they will come. I mean, that's what it reminds me of. If you write it, they're going to find it. And I think that's something, I think that's incredibly beautiful, because, I mean, the YA, NA, all the other categories, there's only going to be a certain amount of books read by that demographic or that audience. I mean, I'm not trying to put it down. I'm really, really not. But I mean, if someone's only reading 30 books a year, and you're trying to be one of those 30 books, it's a very different environment.
Yes.
And with the romance readers, if you go on, again, I've been studying this, if you go on Goodreads romance readers, these people are pledging at least 50, most of them 100 plus books a year. So it's a very different environment. And even then, I think all the subgenres creates more opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. They're talking about thrift books in the comments. Thriftbooks.com has saved my life. Thrift books, book outlet, book depository, any kind of used book outlet, or even just like, you know, you go to the store and you get physical books, take advantage of it. Because like, yeah, Barnes & Noble, all well and good, but yeah, if I can get a deal on books, that's great. Kristen Ashley says, I pledged 50 books on Goodreads.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Proud of
you. I'm proud of 50. Go you. You can do it.
Yeah, because I think on Goodreads, I think I did 24.
I mean, I'm not saying that people aren't. I mean, I'm not implying that YA readers aren't reading as much. I mean, when I was reading young adult, again, I mean, I'm an avid reader, so I've always been reading two to 5 books a week. But I mean, that's me. That's not normal for every single person across the board. But it's a different readership. When you are a young adult, you have school, you have your job, you have your extracurriculars. And not to say romance readers, you know, don't have things going on in their lives, but I think it's a different, again, it's a different demographic. And so romance readers, they're somehow making it work, and they're placing that as part of their to-do list as, you know, maybe I'm not going to watch this TV show, maybe I'm going to read my romance novel. It's a different demographic in that way, and that changes the publishing industry, that changes the game on how they market, how they read, and how people discuss things. And so that's just all I'm trying to allude to. I'm not dissing anything. I mean, I love the YA genre. I'm writing a YA book. I'm just being forthcoming with, it's a different dynamic. That's just how I'm going to phrase it.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Let me look at my notes and see exactly what I want to talk about, because there's actually a lot of things I want to talk about for this documentary. But I
know if you guys have something in the comment section you want us to talk about when it comes to romance, you have something on your minds, comment away, take advantage of the comment section. I want to read your thoughts.
I love when comments pop up. One of my first actual bullet point on here is actually in the very beginning of the documentary, and they kind of do a couple of other scenes, but I love how they kind of go into also just creating the cover for romances. I just love that, how they were doing like photo shoots and like dressing everybody up, and it was just like this big ordeal, you know. It's because the cover sells a book. You're going to want to look at this cover, and that's what, you know, when they say don't judge a book by its cover, that's absolutely, let's not even like talk about that, because
like, you can tell a romance novel by the romance novel cover. Like, I mean, you can identify one because of the other.
Exactly.
I mean, he was famous for a reason. He wasn't
Exactly. I can tell you right now, like, I buy so many books, like, oh, that cover looks great. Like that, oh, that looks really interesting. Looks interesting. I will go and pick up a book and read the back, the synopsis, because the cover looks interesting. Yes, carry down.
I'm holding up like one of the classics, bodice or marketing.
That's awesome. I'll have to read that. But yeah, the cover is what draws. That's going to make you want to go to the shelf, pick it up, and read the back. And then when you read the back, you're like, I want to read this. So the cover is what first draws you in. Anybody who says anything different is lying to you.
I mean, I fell prey to buy, I mean, this is something you probably should admit, but I've fallen prey to buying books based off of the covers. I mean, there's one over there. It's a young adult book. The cover is just simply stunning. It's got gold and looks sparkly. And I thought, oh, that's pretty.
Exactly. I've done the exact same thing. Oh, we have some comment.
But I mean, I love how you're pointing to the fact that, I mean, they market this genre so well. I mean, no matter what they're doing, the publishing industry, romance has kind of figured out what works for them, and they've been able to tweak it and stay with it so that they've remained relevant. They've remained at the forefront of the publishing industry in a time when it's so in flux and so hard to really stay competitive because of ebooks and self-publishing. Romance has done it, and they've changed kind of their approach with the covers. I love Sarah Wendell and Candy Tan. I don't want to mispronounce her name. Candy Tan. They wrote their Smart Bitches, the Heaving Bosoms book, or Beyond Heaving Bosoms. And they talk about the evolution of the romance novel cover. And so this is something real. This is a very important topic because, first of all, not only are they demonstrating the genre, but the woman is on the cover and she is equal. They're there together. It is not, I mean, again, I feel like I'm bashing thrillers tonight, but a lot of the times she's the victim on the cover, or it's just a very blank. I mean, it's a different type of dynamic going on. Just
absolutely.
I'm seeing all these comments pop up. I don't know what's going on.
Basically, they're let me see. Let me go back. Kristen Ashley says she's been an avid reader since as long as she can remember. My mother would take us to 3 different libraries. That's awesome. So it's basically taking advantage of your local library. Let me see. Kristen, she didn't know me well. To discipline me, she'd make me sit at the library while she was working. Was not an effective punishment. I love that so much. Jenna says, oh, she's a designer. That's cool. So seeing the design of a cover was really fun. Yes. I just thought that was so cool. And also how you can kind of, based on the cover, you can kind of guess what kind of romance it is, you know, like if it's like the Regency style clothes where, you know, you knew it was a historical, or, you know, like the Scottish romance, you know, they had like their, you know, kilt on, and how if it was like a Western or contemporary, you had like the shirtless man, or like the paranormal obviously would be like the shirtless man with kind of like an animal or something going on. So how I thought that was really funny how in the documentary that you could tell what kind of romance book it's going to be just by looking at the cover. And just like you said, they've had time to figure out what works and what doesn't. And they are really good at producing covers on their content that works.
I loved again, it was the Beyond Heaving Bosoms. I'm going to get this title right.
I love that. Just putting that out there. I love that.
They talked about the evolution with how it looked like an oil painting with the golden hues around the sides. And now it's changed. And now they really have perfected it based on the sub-genre. It's true. If you look at paranormal, there is more of a blue kind of tendency, darker. And that's masterful that they've been able to kind of, over the years, figure out what works for what subgenre. It's almost like trial and error. It's scientific. And you want to show that? She's got a J.R. Ward book over there.
Yes, J.R. Ward is fantastic. If you haven't read the series, you should. So typical paranormal romance cover.
Nice and dark. You got the big bold lettering over there. I love it.
Put that back. Yeah, it's fantastic. Kristen Ashley, I love historical things, so that's part of what draws me to romance. I like old-fashioned, LOL. I do too. I really...
I'm a Janeite. I love Jane Austen. She's my go-to, although she technically wasn't this is my own little thing, the pinkening of literature. She didn't start off as women's fiction. She became women's fiction.
Right. Ooh, Steph's Rom Book Talk. Hey, ladies. Hello. How are you? I've actually said this before. When I was doing our book club announcement, Steph's Rom Book Talk, her channel, is the first kind of thing that popped in my head. Like, she would actually like this book club because she predominantly talks about romance. And I love her channel so much. You should totally check her out. She talks a lot about romance, and I've had a lot of great recommendations from Steph's Rom Book Talk. It's great. So I'm glad that you could join us.
Welcome. I was going to say, I found you because of Nicole and this book club announcement. I hadn't seen your channel before. This is the thing about BookTube. There's so many channels. You don't really find everyone right away. So I'm happy to have found you.
I love it. I love it so much. Let me see.
I love this. If I bought books based on the covers, I'd be sitting on books because I'd have no room or money for furniture. It is true. It is true. Yeah. Book covers, I mean, there's a reason why I think people take classes upon classes to design book covers. It is an art. I really do think designing a book cover is an art form. And if anyone says differently, I'm going to disagree with them. Getting the perfect book cover, that's a serious undertaking. Just putting that
I agree. I agree, because that's one of the most daunting things. Like, what would, because I'm writing a romance, contemporary romance. I'm writing, you know, a lot of the things that I'm writing, they probably are different genres. Max!
He wanted to moving around. He wants to say hello, apparently.
Hello, Max.
He heard voices. He's like, what's going on up there?
But yeah, just the cover, because it is an art form. I, for one, don't think I'm qualified to pick or to design a romance book cover, but I just think that's so funny. Steph's Rom Book Talk. Romance channels are hard to find. Book covers is crazy important. Yeah, that's kind of like what we were saying. Like, on BookTube is predominantly YA, fantasy, or maybe even sci-fi, but they're not predominantly talking about romance. So I love that I find those romance channels.
I think this is the other part of it as well. I've been giving this a lot of thought. And so because YouTube does predominantly have a younger demographic, it makes sense for it to linger with the young adult, new adult genres. That makes sense to me as a part of the community, as YouTube subscribers. Those are the people who are predominantly making YouTube channels. So it makes sense, but at the same time, I don't think it should be the only genres being discussed. So welcome to the Romance Genre Book Club. Hello back to you, by the way. He's been on my lap this entire time. I mean, he's just hanging out with his mom.
He's so cute.
He's got his little fluffy face. His fur is finally growing back. He went to
his shave.
Did you see him when he was shaved? I don't know if you did.
Yeah, I did.
It's finally back.
He's so cute. He oh my gosh, he drives me crazy. He's so cute. One other thing that I wanted to talk about. One other thing, like I don't want to talk about multiple other things. But I didn't know what RWA was until you mentioned it. And then I watched the documentary. Yeah. And then I watched the documentary. And I'm like, it makes me want to go even more. But it makes me so sad that I don't think I'm going to be able to swing it.
I'm officially registered. I'm officially going. I'm going to be going to the Romance Writers of America convention this summer in Denver, Colorado. Colorado and Denver. I'm excited. I'm getting tongue-tied because I was watching the dog. He was distracting. I was like, he's doing something stupid and weird. He's walking in a circle. He's walking in a circle, and he's picking up a treat as he's scratching himself. And I'm like, I don't know how you're not toppling over right now. He's very flexible. I don't know how this little guy functions. I'm kind of weirdly fascinated by my dog.
I'm fascinated by your dog. Steph's Rom Book Talk. So many of the books I read besides being indie are strictly gone into blind.
I did see the romance writing one. I just saw that. Yeah, are you talking about the one where they go to the romance writing convention in Vermont and this had what's her name, the redhead? Oh, I can't think of her name. It's Alicia Witt. I just saw that pop up.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't see the the holiday movie, no. But go ahead, talk about it.
Oh, no, I was going to say, go back to Steph. I just saw that pop up, and I was like, wait a second, I know exactly what you're talking about. I got so excited. I couldn't hold it in. Hello, Steph.
You are the more of the Hallmark guru. Me, not so much. But, okay, so Steph, she said, just call me Stephanie or Steph. Thank you. Yes, Steph. Definitely.
I interrupted the going into blind. We were talking about going into books blind, but it's true. I do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I specifically go to your channel just because I know you read romance. And so I appreciate your channel. And even though, like, yeah, we were talking about how, Angela, you were saying that you understand why BookTube is so focused on YA, because definitely the people who generally create BookTube channels are in the younger demographic. So it makes sense how they're not talking about romance. So I get that. I get that too. But definitely I love searching for those romance or those kind of not necessarily talked about books. If they're talking about it on their channel, I absolutely love it.
And yes, I'm going back to the Hallmark comment. So there has actually been, I've seen all the new Hallmark movies. It's a problem. This is an addiction. I love Hallmark. I really do. I love Hallmark, and their ratings and their viewership has gone up since Trump has been in office. More and more people want the happily ever after. Apparently, they're tuning in for the glory of knowing the ending. People love Hallmark lately. They've had a trend as of late doing a lot more movies about bookstore owners and writers, and I've been really happy watching these movies. There have been quite a few of them. Frozen in Love, or I think that's the title of it, with Rachel Lee Cook. She owns a bookstore. There's another one, what's her name? I can't think of it off the top of my head. She's a very sweet blonde, short blonde hair. Allie Liebert, I believe her name is. She did one where her name is Darcy because of Pride and Prejudice, and she also works in a bookstore. And then there's these romance writing ones. I love how Hallmark has kind of incorporated writing and reading into kind of their channel as of late. And so, yes, I did see the movie. I got very excited when I saw the comment. I couldn't hold it in. Yes, Hallmark.
I love, just sticking with the Hallmark, I love all your Hallmark tweets when you like watch something on Hallmark and then you tweet about it. I love that.
Well, Hallmark actually reached out to me to live tweet. It was their latest murder movie mystery starring Holly Robertson Pete. It was a morning show mystery. They actually reached out to me to live tweet that one. I was so excited that Hallmark contacted me. I was ridiculously excited. And that's exciting. Yeah, they hired me. They hired me to live tweet. They gave me a link to the movie, so I got to watch it in advance. I felt so special. I mean, again, I love Hallmark, and as a fan, they reached out to me, and so this was a weird validation moment for me. Going, yes, my love of Hallmark is paid off.
That is fantastic. I love that.
We all need to leave reality. I just saw that.
Yes. Yeah, we do.
Hallmark is the bomb. It is. Someone had asked me about, I actually said in the comments, if you watch Hallmark Channel, you're actually watching a romance genre come to life. Because they have the happy endings, they have the romance. That's what Hallmark kind of is. It's a romance genre adaptation. And a lot of them are based on books. That's something else that I noticed on Twitter. A lot of the writers are actually live tweeting the adaptation of their, of their book. It was so much fun.
That's awesome. Another thing I wanted to talk about sorry, what were you saying?
Mystery Woman, I just saw that pop up. I love her. Now she's doing Haley Dean. What's the actress's name? Kelly Martin. Now she's doing Haley Dean based on the Nancy Grace books. Mystery Woman is a great one now.
And then Kristen Ashley, their Christmas movies. I know, Angela, you love Hallmark Christmas movies. I love that.
I do. I think that, I mean, again, I mean, I live in the city. I moved to DC to get my master's degree at Georgetown, and now I'm staying at American for my PhD. So I mean, so it's kind of a holiday tradition for me to watch these movies on Saturday, you know, when they come out on Saturday night. I mean, I'm not with my family until Christmas because I have midterms and finals and things due. So it's a nice way to kind of celebrate the holiday season. Just putting that out there.
That's awesome. One thing I really did want to talk about is Beverly Jenkins. I haven't read any of her books, but she was predominantly featured in Love Between the Covers, the documentary. And one thing that really kind of spoke to me is that how she writes a lot of African American historical romance, and that's something that I've never read before. I haven't read Beverly Jenkins, but the fact that she was talking about how she said something. There was a quote. Sorry, I have to pick it up. I wrote notes. Quote unquote, no one thinks I'm beautiful. How she was sitting at some kind of writers convention. It could be the RWA, but how women were coming up to her, African American women, and they were saying that when they were reading romance, even though they love romance, it wasn't really anything about them, particularly their race, and how someone had come up to her and said, no one thinks I'm beautiful, because there were no romance about that. And I just thought that was so sad. That was so sad to me, and how I want to read every single Beverly Jenkins novel that she has ever come out with, just because I feel like I've been, even though I do consider myself well read, I have never picked up one of her books, and I want to now. And I just, the African American historical romance is really interesting to me now. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I mean, I really appreciate the fact that the romances do incorporate a diversity element. My only caveat or wish is that it didn't have to be in the multicultural category. I wish that everything was just integrated so that it was just all in there, all mixed up, so that if you pick up a paranormal, it's not paranormal multicultural. It's just a paranormal. Like,
absolutely.
I mean,
I totally agree with you there.
I understand the marketing, but as a human being, I want it to be fair. I want it to be equal. I want it to be mixed in. And this is something I've noticed because I've been reading a lot of series. After a certain point, a lot of writers do take on different races and incorporate them. T.S. Joyce, she writes paranormal shifter romances. She ended up incorporating quite a few different races as the series went on, and also did disabilities as well. This is my other thing with romance genre. And so this is actually going to get into my pick for next month's book with disabilities. But she had two characters who were deaf. She had another character who was handicapped. And so I really appreciate the fact that they're incorporating different things into the genre. I just wish that it was all just intermixed more and it wasn't categorized differently. Beverly Jenkins, I am so happy she exists in the world.
Yes.
And she's going to be winning. I think she's winning the Nora Roberts Lifetime Achievement Award this year at RWA for everything she's contributed to the genre. So I'm like, I want to hold up a sign and be like, go Beverly. Like, I want to fangirl out over her.
That is awesome. I love that. Jenna, she just said that made me cry. Is that in regards to what I was talking about, or something in the comments? But yeah, absolutely. When I was watching the documentary, how she had women come up to her and said they don't feel beautiful because there wasn't a romance written for someone like them. And I just, yeah, that seriously almost made me cry too. And
I did. The very first time I saw it, I did cry. You guys, I was just sitting there. I'm a very emotional person when it comes to it. I was very moved by that scene. And then also she does Native American as well. And when they were on that trip in the documentary, Beverly Jenkins, she organized a trip with her readers, by the way, which is awesome. They organized a trip, and so they're doing this historical trail, and they're talking, saying, oh, I need more Native American books, and they're making requests to the writer, which is just, I mean, talk about community and bringing down that invisible wall between the producer of content and the consumers talk about, intermingling. I mean, that's beautiful in itself, but they're placing requests to have more diversity and include more different more races. I love that. And that's so important.
I do too. The fact that she organizes something like that, how she takes her readers and goes on this trip, I just think that was awesome. That was great. And Jenna, yes, hearing that women didn't have that representation, that really hit me. Yes, absolutely.
I will admit I want even more. I think they're making progress, but I kind of want to push the boundaries just a little bit further, because I very rarely see Asian American or Latino. I mean, I very rarely see other races and other ethnicities represented, and I would love to see more books come out representing more people. I think that would be really important, and I only find a few of them here and there. And so if you know of some, recommend them. I want to
absolutely. And just going back to like the time is now, absolutely. There's no better time than now to actually write that, and it's just awesome. That's awesome to me. What else did I want to talk about?
Do you want to talk about the book choices? Because I think we've kind of hinted at two of our choices now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think, honestly, looking at my notes, I think I've hit on literally every single bullet point sometime throughout this conversation. But one thing I really did want to talk about is how Susan Donovan, she is one of the authors that were kind of predominant in the Love Between the Covers documentary, how she used to be a quote unquote, these are her words, literary snob. And she didn't read romance, and she actually made fun of women who did read romance. And I just think how that is a complete 180. Just the fact that, she used to have that kind of mentality, and now she's a romance genre writer, and how that completely, how that changed her mindset. And I just thought that was just so amazing. And just the fact that also how the fact that she made fun of women who read romance, honestly, in this day and age, I really think women should just stay together, stick together. And the fact that we need to lift each other up for everything.
Sorry. I was moving my laptop. I needed to reposition.
That's totally. I was like, what are you doing over there?
I know. I was trying to get on the Twitter because I wanted to create the poll for the book choices. I was trying to open up the window and be discreet, but that didn't really pan out. So I apologize.
No, it was it was probably discreet to the viewers, but then I'm like, what are you doing over there?
I was doing. We figured this out with Google Hangouts. So whoever's talking pops up. So if you make noise, you pop up. If you try and be quiet, you go away.
Yeah.
So thank you for have you ever seen The Office where everyone wants to be sneaky sneak? I couldn't be sneaky sneak.
It's fantastic. But yes, do you, girl. I'll continue talking about literary snobs. But so yeah, I just thought that was totally relevant how she had one mindset, and then the fact she changed her mind completely 180, became a romance genre author, and she was telling her story about how she was first approached in publishing her work, and how the fact that even her husband, this really got to me. Oh my gosh, I'm probably just tearing up just talking about it, but her husband didn't consider her romance genre writing a real job, quote unquote, real job, and how she needed to do something else. Like a lot of romance authors have another full-time job, just because to be a millionaire, a billionaire, being an author is 1 in a million. Really, it's the exception, not the rule. But how not even like a lot of authors, they don't do it for the money. They do it because they want to get their content out there. And I love that. But even her husband didn't consider her writing to be a quote unquote real job. How she needed to do something else because they depended on her income. And she said something that will forever resonate with me. She said her husband didn't believe in her and didn't dream with her. She had this dream that she was, she would write her romance genre. She would write her romance and touch so many people, and that her husband didn't believe in that dream with her. her husband, the one person who's probably the most was supposed to support you 100% and be your advocate, kind of like pulled her aside and said, I'm really happy for you. This publishing house came to you and said, let's publish your work. I'm happy for you, but let's be realistic. You need to get a real job, and didn't dream with her. That, I'm like tearing up just thinking about it. But that really hit home. And how the fact that even though the people that you surround yourself with, you would think that they would be supportive, and how just because she was writing romance, let's just say she was writing fantasy or writing sci-fi or, you know, just any other different kind of literature, how she would probably get that support. But the fact that she was writing romance, it wasn't real. What, I mean, what do we think about that? Like, oh my gosh, that just kind of like really
cookies. I just saw that pop up in the comment section. I wanted to get, yeah. I was so happy because now she's the writing duo. Excuse me. She's the writing duo, and I'm like, you have a friend to write with. You have support.
Yeah. So some of the comments.
Need to go get a water. I'm losing my voice.
Go get a water. Go get a water. I'm just gonna go over some of the comments here. Kristen Ashley, she said, what we write, the next generation will have. Absolutely. Just kind of going back to that. If you, whatever you choose to write, there is someone out there that will read it, especially in the romance genre. Definitely going back to that quote, if you have a cup of tea, someone is pouring it. I love that. I love that so much. So if you think about writing anything, write it, do it. You do you. And Jenna, I always feel bad for book snobs. Why limit yourself like that? That is so true. Angela's back. Hello. She's got her water. I was just talking about, I was just reading Jenna's comment. I always feel bad for book snobs. Why limit yourself like that? Honestly, same. Because if something sounds good, it doesn't matter what genre it is. If it sounds appealing to me, I'm going to read it no matter what. But just because it's probably a genre that you deem as less, you're totally missing out. Totally. I totally agree with you. And Jenna, she
where's back at Angela? Where's back at you?
Jenna's like, oh man, that lack of husband support was so sad. It was very sad. And just because obviously if you're married, you know, your significant other, you want the support from this person that is supposed to love you the most. And the fact that she didn't have that probably cut a big chunk out of her heart, you know, because I just hearing about it, like totally cut a big chunk out of my heart, you know? So the fact that she didn't have that was really sad for me. And that's been said to me about writing and tutoring. There aren't imaginary jobs. That's what Kristen Ashley said. Exactly. If you are doing what you love and it's generating an income, that's not imaginary. You are making it work. You know, just because you're not making like multi-million dollars.
My thing kind of going off of that was Eloisa James and how she was featured, I believe it was People magazine, and in her department, she was advised not to give an interview because I thought that was terrible. And the thing is, it's actually kind of accurate because Eloisa James is a pen name. I believe her real name is Mary Bly. I don't know how to pronounce her last name correctly because she's just always Eloisa James to me. But she was advised against it. And I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, how that's so sad. I'm curious how her family felt because she said she was supporting them. She was contributing. They didn't really touch on her home life. I think she's happily married. But I believe the two women, both of whom you were talking about with the husband support, they got divorced.
Yes.
And so I'm really happy that they became a writing duo because it's almost as if, okay, well, I'm not getting that support over here, but this other person does believe in me and I'm going to form a friendship with them. Maybe, obviously it's not the same type of relationship, but it's fulfilling in a different way and probably more so because it is supportive.
Absolutely. I what you said about Louisa James. I believe she is married and has children, and I think she did have that support at home, but you know, the fact that those authors didn't have that support. What if they stopped? What if they stopped writing, and just because they didn't have that support, and you wouldn't have all this material from them? I just think that's really sad, and I don't know. And yes, they are divorced, how you said. And
I'm actually like happy they got divorced. It's almost as if they acknowledged this wasn't a healthy relationship, and they moved beyond that. They said it's not healthy, and they got themselves out of it. Because so often you hear about people staying in bad situations, and I can't remember the assistant's name off the top of my head, but she said, I was going to hold out for someone who loved me for me, and I held out for true love because I learned from romance novels. And so she found the relationship she wanted. And I feel like writing the romance relationships gave them hope and gave them a reason to get out of a bad situation. I'm just putting that out there. That's how I perceive that.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I was thinking of that scene as you were talking. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. How she held out for her knight in shining armor, and her husband is so supportive of her and loves her so much. And you can tell just that little snippet of the documentary, you can tell that her husband loved her so much and is fully 100% supportive and backing her business. And I just think that is just so remarkable, and how honestly, you don't realize how much you need that support until you don't have it. And that is just, I'm glad that, the women who were kind of in that suffocating relationship got out, and they're still doing what they love to do and blessing us with their work. It's just amazing.
I've been handed a dog toy. I apologize. You just tossed this onto my lap. Apparently that is my cue to play fetch with him.
Exactly. It's like, you've been talking too long to the computer screen. You need to play with me.
I mean, I will just ask if we can throw this out there. This way people can start voting.
Yes.
So we do need to talk about this. I don't mean to interject, but we did want to talk about, so originally Nicole and I were each going to choose 2 books, but then one of her third book was kind of one of like mine. I wanted to Nora Roberts' book as well, so we settled on her 3 and my 1. So over on Twitter, at Romantics at Heart, over on Twitter, please, I'm going to post a poll. You need to go vote. I want your vote. I want to know what you think. We are going to put 4 books up, and you are going to help us choose what our first romance read is going to be. I was thinking about leaving it up for 5 days. I don't know if that gives people enough time. Tell me how much time you think we need. I was thinking 5 days for people who might have maybe missed the live stream, but
I think 5 days is good, because then we'll have 3 other weeks to read, the book and then talk about it. I think that's great.
So do you want to pitch them your 3 picks, and then I'll pitch them my 1, which I am very excited about. Vote.
Yes. Yeah, I'll pitch. Okay, hold on. I gotta go back to.
Oh, see, I already know my pitch. I
do know my picks. I just want to. Okay, so my first pick is a contemporary romance by Bella Andre. It's called Wild Heat, and I actually have this book. I've read a lot by Bella Andre, and so this book has been on my TBR for a while. So, and she was also featured in the documentary. So all of my authors, FYI, are featured in the documentary. So Wild Heat by Bella Andre, that's my first pick. My second pick is a historical romance, and it's called Indigo by Beverly Jenkins. And that's just because I want to read everything by Beverly Jenkins now. And so I'm starting with Indigo. And then my third pick is a paranormal or, magical kind of realism book by Nora Roberts. It's called Stars of Fortune. So those are my 3. And then Angela has one. Take it away.
I mean, I had a whole pitch set up. That was a very brief overview. So, yeah. I mean, I'm prepared to pitch my book. I'm going to pitch this book. I am choosing a contemporary, and this is one that's been on my to-be-read list for a very, very long time. I will say right now, I have not read this book. It has been a to-be-read. I haven't read it, so I can't tell you if it's steamy. I can't tell you if there's anything inappropriate. So this is our other caveat. Neither of us have read any of these. So if there is something that comes up, we can't forewarn you. I'm also not going to do spoilers for this because I want to be a reader as well. So I don't know what's in this, but my choice, drum roll, is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. And this has been on my TBR for a long time, probably since it came out. And so I have the little blurb right here. It is a New York Times, USA Today, and Wall Street Journal best-selling book. It is in the top 100 romance novels of all time over on GOODREADS. And I am so excited about this because it is a little bit different. Archer is mute. And so I'm really curious to see how the writer addresses this, how they capture his voice, how they have the descriptions, how they capture the tone and things like that. So I know yours are bigger name people, so should I read the little blurb? Are we good? I mean,
yes, read the blurb.
So I wanted to lose myself in the small town of Pelion, Maine, to forget everything I'd left behind, the sound of rain, the blood, the coldness of a gun against my skin. For 6 months.
I'm sorry. Gasp.
The dog hands you a toy, right? I'm talking about like the 6-month mark, right? For 6 months, each breath has been a reminder that I survived, and my dad didn't. I'm almost safe again, but the moment I meet Archer Hale, my entire world tilts on its axis and never rights itself again. And then it goes on. Until I trespass into his strange, silent, and isolated world, Archer communicates with no one. Yet in his whiskey-colored eyes, which I thought was a great description, although I'm totally
colored eyes.
Something intangible happens between us. There's so much more to him than just his beauty, his presence, or the ways his hands communicate with me, on me, but this town is mirrored in secrets and betrayals, and Archer is the explosive center of it all. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Good.
I think that sounds fantastic.
Like, I've had this on my to-be read list for a very, very long time. And in my own little head, I've been thinking it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. I keep thinking because she's a trauma victim. He himself is also a victim. I keep thinking I need to be emotionally prepared to read it. So I keep putting off reading it. And so now, hopefully, if I have emotional, moral support, I can do this. Because I get very emotionally invested in my books. That's the other thing, too. I'm a very emotional reader. I do cry. I do root for my characters. And I feel like that's going to be one of those reads. Plus, it has, I think, a 4.45 rating on Goodreads. So
that it sounds fantastic. I'm sorry, Teresa. Please provide suggested book titles and authors in the comment section when the replay is uploaded on your YouTube channel. Thanks. So I kind of actually just want to touch base more on my book picks because you just did that so eloquently. I love you so much, Angela.
Well, I mean, I really put a lot of thought into choosing my books. I already have the next 3 months. I already have my other TBRs decided. I really put in a lot of thought with this.
That is fantastic.
I'm so excited to be able to talk about romances with people.
So I'm just typing up real quick my book picks in the comment section.
I mean, I can go through the video afterwards and catalog all of the recommendations and books we've mentioned. And I am so sorry my dog found his dog toy and the squeaking is now happening. I apologize.
No, it's fantastic. But yeah, I love it so much. So I just put all of my book picks in there. But yeah, in the video, like I think she specifically said for the replay.
Well, you guys can go vote on Twitter. It is now live at Romantics at Hart. So please go vote. I know Nicole's going to pitch her book because I really just pitched you mine really, really hard.
You did. I want to read that now. But okay, so Wild Heat by Bella.
Someone voted for my choice. I should go to market.
You should. Okay, so Wild Heat by Bella Andre is actually book number 1 in the Hot Shot trilogy. Oh, gotta go now. Bye, Teresa. Bye. Thanks for stopping by.
Yes, we love you. Keep reading romances.
Yes. It's from the Hot Shots trilogy. It's the first book, and hotshots are firefighters. I don't know if anybody knows that. But so basically it's about these hot firemen.
I'm pretty sure you just won a vote or two with that sentence alone.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I've read some of Bella Andre. I've had this book probably for going on 5 years and it's been on my shelf and I want to read it. So definitely want to do that one. And then my next one, Indigo by Beverly Jenkins. Let me find it really quick. I just found out about this yesterday when I read or when I watched Love Between the Covers, because I not necessarily haven't heard of Beverly Jenkins, but I haven't read anything by Beverly Jenkins. And so the fact that she was very predominant in the documentary, I want to read everything by her. And Indigo was talked about a lot. I don't know a lot about it, but it is a African-American historical romance. And it's about the character, her name is Hester Wyatt. She escaped slavery, but now the dark-skinned beauty is a dedicated member of the Michigan's Underground Railroad. And I just thought that was amazing. Great premise. So I definitely wanted to read that. And then my last one, Stars of Fortune by the Queen, Nora Roberts.
I know that one already has one. I was sorry for moving the laptop, but I was trying to type. So I just put the link to the Twitter. So please cast your votes right now. Nora Roberts has one. Archer's Voice has one. So
nice. Yeah. Obviously Nora Roberts, I think everyone who reads romance knows who Nora Roberts is. And I think this is one of her, when did this? November 3rd, 2015. So this is fairly recent, 3 years. It's a trilogy, the Guardians trilogy, and it's kind of having that paranormal fantasy-esque to it. And it says, to celebrate the rise of their new queen, 3 goddesses of the moon create 3 stars, one of fire, one of ice, and one of water. But then they fell from the sky, putting the fate of all worlds in danger. And now 3 women and 3 men join forces to pick up the pieces. So that just sounds amazing to me. I love Nora Roberts so much. So yeah, those are my picks. Your pick sounds amazing. Definitely have to go vote on Twitter.
Comment section. I was like, I have to have a little fun with this. I was like, wink, wink.
Nudge, nudge.
Although I've never read Indigo. So this is the other thing too. I know he loves his toy, but this is getting a little bit much. We've never read any of these books. So again, like I've never read Indigo, and this is one of those books where I'm going to read it, but it would be nice to potentially read it as a group because I'd love to be able to talk with you about it. So, I mean, these are books I am going to read anyway, but I would love to be able to have conversations about them.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, this is a tie right now. It's 33%. Nobody's winning.
Yeah. Nobody's winning. It's a 3. Oh, God. I have to go pick. Hold on.
Fortune and Indigo. Oh, it's a 3-way tie, so people got to go vote.
Go vote. Okay. Should I vote right now?
I was going to say, I haven't voted yet. I mean, I have multiple Twitter accounts. So, I mean, technically speaking, I could win this very quickly.
You could.
I won't. I'll be honest. I'll be the moral and ethical romance reader. But technically speaking, I could just make Archer's voice go right in front. So, I won't do it, I promise. I'm a good girl. I'll be good. I'll let the romance readers decide.
Alrighty. Anything else you want to talk about? Kristen, actually.
I haven't voted yet. I mean, I can take a screenshot and show you. I haven't voted yet. It was just funny because technically I have access to the Cozy Mystery Book Club. I have my own, and then I have 2 pen names that I scooped up. So I have like 5 Twitter. Oh, I had one for school at one point as well because I had to follow all these things and I didn't want them to know what my real one was. I mean, I don't tell people in my everyday real life about writer A. Hart. That's That's me. That's my fun place. So I had one for school. I had one for school because we had to have one because our teacher would be tweeting, and I think she wanted followers. So I had a school one. So technically, I have, I think, 5 or 6 Twitter accounts. But I won't flood this. I promise. I'll be good.
Yeah, you could definitely win this.
See, now I feel as if Archer's voice wins, now there's gonna be an asterisk next to this win. I promise I won't do it.
No, I don't think so. I just think if it does win, it's because it sounds like an amazing book.
It's on the 100 list, so.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about, my dear Angela?
I've been having so much fun with this. This is the dream come true, to talk about romances, to have people who love romances, and not just I do want to talk about romances. This is just the best way to spend the night.
Kristen, Ashley, I have multiple emails I can help Indigo.
I didn't mean to give you ideas. It wasn't my goal.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. We have a head-to-head competition.
I feel like I should go refresh this because now I feel as if I need to save my vote. My single vote. So we have 4 votes in. Stars of Fortune has taken the lead. It has 2 votes where Archer's Voice has won, Indigo has won. Wild Heat. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said Heart. Wild Heat is dead last with 0.
Oh no!
So people go vote. Tell us which ones you'd like. And even then, if you have recommendations for next month, even though I said I have some drafted, let us know what's on your reading list. I mean, Nicole and I were each going to choose 2. I wanted a Nora Roberts pick because I thought everyone for the romance group would appreciate that. So when Nicole had Nora Roberts, I thought she can just take this. We got this. If you have requests, let us know.
Maybe next month you can do the 3 picks and I'll do the 1.
That's okay. I mean, I'm happy. Like, I don't care as long as it's romance. We're having fun talking about this. I mean, it's romance. I'm happy. You can choose anything you want. You could choose all 4 and I'd still be here talking about it.
I am so happy. I love this. I love talking about romance. I love this whole night. This is like the best night ever. I love this so much. And the fact that, yes, we have a safe place to talk and fangirl and love on the romance genre with my booktube bestie. Mwah.
I'm so happy our social media paths crossed. It's one of those things where I'm like, I'm so happy I met you through booktube, and now I'm meeting all you lovely other romance readers. I'm so happy that you found us and you tuned in. I mean, we've seen the numbers go up and down. I mean, it's so sweet to see people tune in.
Yes, absolutely.
I know. It's so nice to know there are people who love romances, who want to talk about it, who like us talking about romances. I mean, it's so sweet. So thank you for coming and hanging out with us tonight and being a part of this very first live stream for our book club. And I mean, she named it. I was never going to name this after myself. I mean, I still can't believe you did that. I'm still blushing about that.
Oh, well, and you know what? I was just thinking about it and it just made sense. It made sense because we are both romantics at heart. That's why we gravitate to this genre. And I love that you approached me. I love that we're doing this. I love that I'm meeting all these fantastic people in the comments. And I love that I met you. I love you so much. And
for those of you who don't know, she named this. I was not going to name this after myself. She did this. I didn't. I am usually humble to the point where it's self-deprecating, and then this one names a book club after me. So I mean, I'm going to be blushing and crying over this till the day I die because I mean, I couldn't believe she did that. She was like, "It's romantic's heart," because I was trying to come up with a pun for reading romances. She goes, "No, this is what it is."
Yeah, I was just thinking about it, and then all of a sudden it just came like a light in the dark. Romantics at heart. I'm like, yes, that is fantastic.
Oh, and I have so much fun. I make someone fangirl. Kristen, Ashley, I fangirl with you whenever you retweet me. Well, it is my pleasure that you to retweet you. I mean, I'm so happy to see people engage on the Twitter account It is Romantics at Heart over on Twitter if you aren't following us. I've also tried to follow everybody back. So if I haven't somehow followed you back, just drop me a line, because sometimes with the notifications, it's hard to keep track. I want to make sure everyone is included. I'm following everyone who's following us because this is meant to be a community. I don't care if our number is following a lot more people than who are following us. That is not what this is about. This is about making friends and connections and having fun. And, you know, if you're reading with us, I want to follow your account. So if I'm not currently following you, make sure you let me know.
Absolutely. I totally agree. That's awesome.
Aw. Yes, go check, because I want to know your thoughts about romances and reading in general. I mean, yeah, I'm so honored that you guys tuned in and you're hanging out with us. I mean, seriously, this just made my day. I mean, my week, at least.
Yeah. Made my week, my month. You made my year when you asked me to do this with you. And I love how she's like, I'm fangirl when you oh my God, I can't even talk. Retweet. I fangirled when you approached me to be a part of this book club. I'm like, oh my gosh, she knows I exist. Whoa.
Oh, and I will give you guys the inside track. So I originally wanted to have my subscriber giveaway, thank you giveaway for tomorrow, but that's not going to happen because I haven't edited that video yet. My goal is to have it for Friday. But I did reach the 1,000 subscriber mark. And now
oh my God, I love you.
I can't believe over 1,000 people hit that subscriber button. That subscribe button. That is just ridiculous. And now I have, I think, 1,100, like the 1,100. I'm like, I can't believe that happened. So I did organize my giveaway. That is coming up. If you aren't following me, do that, because I want you to be able to enter and win. Because I have been putting aside some money to be able to do this. So I do say so myself, like there's some nice giveaway items up for grabs. So make sure you enter when it goes live, because you guys are here. I want to make sure you know about it. It is coming. So be aware. Look out for that.
Christian.
Everyone should follow.
Christian says, night, ladies, peace, and read on. Good night. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I know you said you were in a reading slump. I hope this gave you some ideas to go have some books.
Yeah, if you read any of the recs that I gave you and you liked them, let me know. I love it. Let me know if you didn't like them. I really, just let me know what you thought.
And I'm going to pitch your channel, Nicole. Everyone needs to go follow her. Her number has gone up the last week or so. And I'm so proud of you to see your.
Oh my God, I'm blushing. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how big the kind of jump was in the last 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks ago, I was at like 350, 360. I'm now like nearing the 430 mark. And I just think that's amazing. I'm speechless. I can't even talk, just because I never, like when I started my BookTube channel, everyone says this, but I never thought that I would get to where I am now. And every single one of you who have subscribed, I can't believe that 400 and nearly 430 people have hit that subscribe button and like watch, my channel. And Angela, I know that you have a big part of that, because you shout out my channel so much, and I love you so much for that. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love you. I love you. I mean, I'm
gonna cry.
I also feel as if the BookTube community recently has stepped up. I know YouTube changed its policies, and so it's really nice to see the community with BookTube. I mean, I'm going to pitch Nicole forever. I mean, I'm just going to pitch her channel consistently. I mean, I love her and I love her channel, so I'm just going to keep pitching her. And I'm so happy to just see people finding you and seeing the smaller BookTube army kind of take up arms. I mean,
yes.
I guys my channel. This is something I consciously decided. So BookTube is my hobby. I love doing this. This is my creative outlet. This is my positive space. Yes, I do get thumbs down, but I don't let that like detract. I love doing this. This is something I love to talk about. And now I got romance on my side. So this is something it's fun for me. I don't want to make money from it, because I think that makes it different. It gives it a different spin. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the YouTube laws are not affecting me, but I'm really proud of the way BookTube did take up that challenge and say, okay, if you were affected, let me know. But if you guys are smaller channels, also just drop a line and I will subscribe if I'm not already. I try to subscribe to everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you are a channel and you post content, make sure you tell us, because we want to subscribe to you too. Because if you're talking about romances, I really, really want to subscribe to you.
Absolutely. And just how that's probably one of the best things that I love about BookTube is just that we all come together in times of need and struggle and negativity. It's really, it's really a miraculous thing. And honestly, since I started my channel, it's been the best year and a half of my life. I cannot wait to see what the new year has in store, especially because, I met Angela and we're starting this book club. And honestly, I'm so happy right now. I could just burst. Let's just say that. I'm so happy.
Tuesday, like the first Tuesday of every month is going to be a good day. Or just
be a great day.
Just saying, like every Tuesday, the first Tuesday of every month, mark your calendars because me and Nicole are going to be here. We're going to be fangirling. We're going to be talking about BookTube. We're going to be talking about our book choices. This is just going to be a good time. as I plug the book club.
It's going to be a great time. I love it so much. Already, our first discussion, and I feel like this went tremendously well. I love that I've chatted with each and every person that decided to join with us, and I can't wait to see how this just grows and we just adapt and we read more romance and just we have that safe place to talk and we have, that fuel. We're fueling the fire of just liberation. I just love it so much.
So this is my biggest thing with academia. So again, I'm studying for my PhD. I've been in school a very long time. I've read a lot of very thick books about methodologies and theories. My biggest thing with academic studies is the fact that a lot of them end up with the ivory tower syndrome, where they're academics studying something, but they're not a part of the community, or if they find out something, they're not necessarily contributing to alleviating it. I mean, they might have future research questions, or they'll raise a lot of excellent points, but there's a difference between finding an answer and really implementing a solution. And so I've been studying the romance genre and how it's stigmatized and how it's not discussed. And so rather than wait to do my study, I wanted to help alleviate the stigma now. I didn't want to wait until 2 years when this dissertation becomes a book to all of a sudden say, well, how am I going to fix this? I'd rather start this conversation. I'd rather be a part of the community. I'd rather help provide a space where I'm not in the ivory tower. Like I'm a reader, I'm a researcher. I want this to exist. I don't want to have that issue of, well, why does the stigma exist? Okay, it exists. How are we going to fix it? How are we going to talk about it? Where is the safe space? So it is my absolute pleasure to be a part of this book club. And I love you for agreeing to be my co-host. So big shout out and thank you to you for making my dreams come true.
You're making my dreams come true. And that's just so beautiful. So beautiful how you're such an advocate. And I love that.
Aww.
So I'm very excited of how this is going to go, and I can't wait to actually start reading and start discussing with everyone, and it's going to be, honestly, it's going to be fantastic.
And if you guys have any requests, I mean, Nicole and I were talking about this. Again, we've been working on this for probably, 2 or 3 months? We've been working on this for a while. So if you guys have any requests for themes, we were talking about maybe doing videos on some specific topics. If you guys have something on your mind in regards to romance, if there's something you want us to address, a certain book you want us to feature on Twitter, whatever it is, just let me know. Let us know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Because you can follow us on Twitter. We have the Romantics at Heart Twitter page, and you can follow us. We have the Goodreads account. Definitely drop a line anywhere.
I really went for it.
You did, and it's fantastic. She created every single one of our social media, Twitter, Goodreads, a website from WordPress, and every single one of them is gorgeous. Aww. You go in there, they're gorgeous. All the pictures that she created, oh my gosh, she went all out. She is beautiful. I love her so much. She is so committed. I'm just along for the ride at this point. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Take us wherever you want to go.
In all fairness, I do send her stuff. I'll be like, oh, what do you think of this? She'll be like, oh, it's great. Just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, I don't just take the reins and go wild. I do check in with her. I don't just go for things. I'll be like, hey, I made a website. Do you like the design? I can do this, this, and this. I think I asked you to approve 8 different logos. I mean, I really have been. I mean, I really love this. I mean, in case you haven't figured it out, this is my life. I read romances. I talk about romances at school. I study them. I'm writing a romance. This is really important to me. So I really wanted there to be different outlets, because in my own little head, I think people communicate differently across social media. So if you don't have a Twitter, well, there's a Goodreads. If you don't have a Goodreads, well, I'm going to make a WordPress blog, so maybe you can comment over there. So no matter how you want to communicate, there's a platform for you. And that was my biggest thing, because I wanted to make sure people, again, had that safe space across platforms. So it's not just BookTube. You now have a Goodreads. You now have the Twitter account. Because again, I'm going to try and make this as positive as possible. So.
And I love it. I love that you included me in it. Like, hey, what do you think of this? But honestly, I so trust your judgment at this point. I'm just like, yes, yes. All the pictures that you created. Wonderful.
I mean, we both have Instagram, so I wasn't going to make an Instagram specifically just for this, because I wasn't sure how many people would actually follow or how many pictures I could post on a regular basis. So I specifically did not do an Instagram. You guys can follow us, and I'll follow you right back. I think Nicole will follow you right back.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Whoever friends me, I look at, you know, their profile, I'm just like, yes, I'm going to follow you.
So if you guys want to add us to things, we will follow you right back. So let us know. We are here for you to talk about romances, no matter the platform. This is what we love. So we are here. Let us know what's on your mind, whenever, wherever. So
yeah, I love it. So if you don't have anything else to talk about,
I know we lost commenters. People haven't been commenting. So if you guys have any final,
we still have 7 people watching, but honestly, I think we've hit the nail on the head with this, and I actually loved this discussion. I loved it.
I know. I had a makeup class today. I was on campus. I was talking about very studious things, and then all day today I was thinking romance. I get to go home and talk about romance. So Tuesdays are gonna be first Tuesday of every month is gonna be a good day.
It's gonna be a great day.
Mark your calendars. I found the Goodreads. Yes, I will link everything down below again. For some reason, the description box, I wrote YouTube overwrote it for some reason. I don't know why. So I will, I had Nicole, I'll include all of her social media handles. I asked for those earlier today, so I will link everything afterwards. So make sure you cast your votes. Oh yeah, how's that doing? But while you guys are thinking of your final comments.
Yes, check Twitter.
So Stars of Fortune, followed by Indigo, followed by Archer's Voice, and nobody wants Wild Heat. Poor Wild Heat. I think I'll actually cast my vote for that one over mine, just because I don't want it to be 0.
Just to make it have a vote. I tell you, one thing I do know about Bella Andre, she writes predominantly contemporary, but she has written some fantasy aspects. She has some steamy scenes in there. That's all I know about this book, that there will probably be some steamy scenes.
I feel like that's all some people really want to know or need to know before they're like, yes, that is my book pick. But if you guys have any final comments, please say them now. Questions, queries, conundrums, final thoughts, because otherwise my dog is looking at me and he wants attention.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's it for me.
I know, I've had such a good time. Thank you for watching. If you have any final thoughts, say them now or forever hold your peace, I guess.
Right?
We're until the first Tuesday of next month, and it's so weird to start talking about March because it feels like
I know.
Thank
you guys so much for this book. Jenna, you're welcome. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Cast your votes. Everyone cast your votes.
Yes. So you guys have 5 days if you need to take some time to think about it. If you're a Goodreads addict who needs to go read the reviews, you have some time to do that. So please let us know. Thank you for watching. Tonight was awesome. I'm so happy to see you. Yes, thank you.
Was awesome.
So are we calling it a night?
I think we're calling it. I think we've discussed so many things and it was a great night. But yeah, I think I think we're good.
I'm going to say good night, Kristen and Jenna. I was going to say I've lost comments. I think we lost Kristen a while ago. So good night to whoever is still watching. And I love and appreciate you. And thank you for joining us tonight. It has been such a blast talking to you about romances.
Thank you so much, everyone. You have a great night.
Bye. Stop it.